The music fades and we fade in on a new session of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. Welcome, everybody. This is day 14 of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, a session we are calling To the Valley. We are sponsored, as always, by Alligator Alley Entertainment, and I am very excited to have all of you with us as we proceed forward into the month of June. It is June 16th, 2023. It is hard to believe that we are already halfway past the midpoint of June, but we are, and we are excited to have our only session this month, actually, of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks because of a variety of scheduling constraints. We did have a pretty awesome 2 sessions last month and all that, so that's been good. But only one session this month, and that is happening this evening. Before we go any further, a couple of reminders about ways to support us on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow us on the channel. Please support us by subscribing on YouTube. That's !ArvTube, where you can see past broadcasts of this and other streams. Discord channel is !ArvCord, where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets, where you can follow me when I go live, and I will always post when I go live and other various things that are going on as well. Spoutable has now gotten an app, and so at some point I'm going to see if I can maybe like cross-post or something like that, because I would like to make sure that I have Spoutable available to me in case Twitter does eventually implode. But at the moment, Twitter, but if you want to, you can check out my Spoutable for looking for @GregoryAWilson at Spoutable. Otherwise, I'm still at Twitter using !ArvTweets here in the channel. Website for this, arvanelleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop, the merchandise area. I had a very good discussion today with my good friend Tari Tunes, and we have got a lot of stuff coming, folks. We have a variety of new emotes on the way, and I mean a bunch of new emotes on the way. We are going to have some Shire Adventures stuff, which is on the way, which is going to be added to the shop. And of course, Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks has almost got the last thing done, the last piece of art done. And once that's done, then we're going to have that posted and everywhere, and we'll be able to show off the awesome character art. So that is coming soon. So again, you can check all of that out at the shop, !ArvShop, as it becomes available. The Patreon is !ArvTreon, currently sitting at 18 people, $146 per month. That's not, of course, the actual earnings, because the fees actually cut down on what that is, but that really is important financially for the channel, so any support that people can give would be really appreciated. It also allows us to do things like commission things like the awesome video that you just saw and stuff like that. Plus, you can get some awesome stuff for you and the channel, so please consider supporting us over there. Please also consider subscribing and resubscribing to the channel, because that also gives you custom sub badges, emotes to use everywhere across Twitch, and also inspirations to help our players. We have inspirations both from that and also from supporting the Patreon at a high enough tier. So please consider doing that, because it really does make a difference, and we can move towards channel goals as well. On the publication front, !Icarus for my graphic novel from Athos Arts, !Library, which is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment, and !Greyshade, which is the novel of Greyshade, which came out last year, just won an IBPA Benjamin Franklin Silver Medal. That is available right now. You can also pre-order the sequel to that book, Renegade, which is coming out next month. You can also pre-order the final book in that series, the Grey Assassin Trilogy. That is going to be next month. That's going to be next year, rather. That's for Heretic, is going to be that book. You can pre-order the tabletop role-playing game from Brandon O'Brien's design from Alligator Alley Entertainment again. That's coming out late this year. And, of course, you can also get the audiobook from Trent Sparks, which is available as well. All there with !Greyshade. On the beyond that, if you have not already done so, please consider supporting the various causes we do here. !BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. !Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention, important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And !Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message that we will step up and help in future situations as well. Now, quick note on schedule. We have got this going on tonight, Expedition, of course. Tomorrow is Eberron, Oracle of War. That'll be our one session of Eberron, Oracle of War, Season 3, Lord Bucket, as we continue that campaign. That'll be happening then. And then next week, we have the Patreon-fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month, and we have also got Talisman Adventures happening next Tuesday. And then next Friday, we have some Valorword coming at you a week from today, as I step back into the role of a player and Karevis Terencio. Saturday, I will be off, but it does look like there may be some content on Saturday night for you folks, Saturday the 24th, but more details about that to come. And then after that, we'll have have various things that we'll be doing the 2 weeks that I'm in Seattle, but I will post all the links and talk more about that later on. So that's what we've got going on for now. But right now, I am going to unmute myself and apologize to anyone that I interrupted because I can't hear them yet. And then I'm going to unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to head over to reveal the crew that is with us for today. And as you can see, the crew is with us, although I seem to have made Zach into an album cover, I think. I had one of those like off to the side where it's just sort of like artistically off balance, right? Type of thing. But it is a pleasure to have the Expedition crew with us. And while I'm fixing Zach's camera, I can mention that Johnny's not going to be with us today. Johnny had an unavoidable circumstance. He will be joining us again next month. But fortunately, his character Titus, as we will discuss, is not currently really with the party anyway, and we'll talk about the implications of that in a minute. So that means that we have the rest of the wonderful crew with us, beginning with the person you see right to the right of that player not available spot on your screen, and that is, of course, Toya Kristen Finley. Toya, it's good to see you. How is the life and universe and all those sorts of things with you, and who are you playing this evening?
Well, how is the life and universe? I live in a place where people develop allergies after they move here, so that's about how that's going.
Fair enough.
And lots of lawns mowing, so that's been an adventure. Just had a really great conversation about Kevin Smith's work with Bruce Willis and Prince, and also his appearance on Animal Talking with Sting. But anyway, I will be, by the way, if nobody's seen Animal Talking or Dungeon Crossing, which was a spinoff of that, please go look them up. They're so much fun. But anyway, I will be Nulls Darkly tonight. And I am very interested to see where all of that goes because we have Fob now with us. And of course, we are split off from Titus, who is with Gmork. So, he will be in our thoughts as we are attempting to cross this bridge.
Yes, I just had this image of you saying thoughts and prayers because he is with Gmork, and I was like, that's probably fair enough. We will see how that goes. I'm excited to see how Nulls handles things as we go through today. Also, great pleasure to have Kat Rambo with us. Kat, welcome back. Good to see you. And same question, I guess. How is life in the universe and all those sorts of things with you, and who are you playing tonight?
Well, life is pretty good. I just turned in the third book of the space opera yesterday.
Yay,
so I'm
awesome.
very happy about that. Time to write a different book. I am playing Fob, a lizard folk with a great many daggers and a certain roguishness about them.
Good stuff. Yeah, and I'm excited to see. I think if there is any combat, I'm excited to see how ridiculously destructive Fob is this time, because we proved that Fob can inflict a lot of damage if the need arises. But in the meantime, I look forward to seeing Fob stealthing through the shadows, etc. Moving right along, last but certainly not least, of course, is the person I previously made into an album, but now I think I've successfully centered properly, and that, of course, is the amazing Zach Clay. Good to see you, Zach. How is life in the universe with you, sir, and who are you playing today?
Yeah, you made me into an album, but now we're making an album.
I see that segue. What do you refer?
To what I refer, of course, is the fact that I am a member of The Road, which is a longtime band led by one Gregory Wilson himself and our friend Michael Bruce, who plays guitar. And we are working on an album. And we're getting to the final stages of that actually. So more news on that soon. But aside from that, I was sort of we were having a Kevin Smith conversation in the green room. I was sort of a little bit tuned out, I'll admit, because I was snacking, and also number two, I feel like I'm one of very few people, I guess, that knows basically nothing about Kevin Smith. And I always hear everyone talking about Kevin Smith. I see him on shows, and to me, it's just like, I look at him and I'm like, how did this random guy get on this thing? Who is this? I've never heard of him, never heard of anything he does.
To be fair, that's a great description of Kevin Smith. Just like this random white guy who just kind of wanders in everywhere.
He might even like that description, actually.
So, there's no getting around it. But I am a fan of Animal Crossing. I remember when that was coming out at the exact same date as Doom Eternal, and there was all that cross community advertising, which was pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm doing well. I'm doing great. Working on all sorts of different things, mostly D&D related. And tonight, speaking of, I will be playing Dr. Keldon Jaraxxus, who is our only Espergenesis character, I suppose, aside from Titus, who isn't here. And I am a Cybermancer Dendis, a Dendis Cybermancer. What that means, you'll have to see to find out.
It's going to be good stuff. I'm excited to see how the whole crew goes. And with no further ado, let's talk a little bit as I switch over to the map. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in our last session during ArvCon. As you folks know, as I start up the music again, and let's play this artifact music again, like that. Good, lovely. In our last session, the crew, the now united crews, I guess you could say, of the Sunrider and also of the people who escaped from Camria, have now joined together, have joined forces, 2 from each group, and have headed with Elu Whisperwind down to the Valley of the Ancients, where hopefully they will be able to find Elu's parents, who may be able to assist them in figuring out what is going on in Camria, why exactly the Primarch seems to have taken leave of his senses, and why the dangerous situation that many of the people now find themselves in, how the party can try to address that given the circumstances they've found. Bad circumstances and rumors abound, not least the discovery of a variety of modified creatures like the ones that were actually met during the session, which I will describe just in a moment, that have been somehow modified using some unusual combination of magitech. Put it all together, and it's not a good sign for what the future may hold for the planet, or for the people in the Sunrider who are trying to find out what this beacon that has been sending out constant pulses into the galaxy, what this is for. Somehow these may be connected, but it's not clear how yet, and so the parties have joined forces. Coming to the opening bridge of First Span, which is the little red line, basically, that you can see on your map that crosses over, the party decided to take that route because of a variety of dangers with the other routes, and if you want to know more about that, I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and check out the playlist where I describe those several times in detail about what the other ones are. But the passage across, on the bridge across, is more or less run in a civilized manner. It is guarded by an actual troll, an actual bridge troll, but that is under the aegis of Fen Haddock, who is the governor of First Span. And the party basically had 2 separate things that they did last time. The first is that Titus, played by Johnny, joined up with Gamork, the modified direwolf, which the party had defeated but spared. They defeated the rest of its pack, but spared him, and had gained Gamork's, I don't know if it's respect quite yet, but sort of grudging acceptance of his position for the moment. And Titus had finally decided that he wanted to speak to Gamork, travel with Gamork, and basically hopefully use Gamork as a kind of mount as they travel forward. And so Titus decided to do this, despite the fact that Titus can't really communicate with Gamork, and we were making some jokes in the green room about the Titus Gamork brocom and all that stuff, which is clearly going to come from all this. So Titus headed off, and at the very end of our session last time, Titus and Gamork, having gone below the level of the city, so basically of the town, seeing the bridge above them having gone down a little bit into the valley where they're going to go across, having seen a drone, a metallic drone, come down, wander around, scan where they were, and then leave as Gamork, staring up with his sightless eyes, had his teeth bared and growling at this thing. In the meantime, while that was happening, the 3 others, Nulls and Fob and Dr. Jaraxxus, along with Elu, were up in the village negotiating with Fen, who ultimately said that they could cross for free if they were willing to track down some of the things which had been problematic for the village, specifically certain attacks that had been happening, which seemed to be unusual, certain things that were perhaps threatening the safety of the village. And if they were willing to go track down some of these threats and eliminate them, presumably they're going to run into them on the way down, then that would allow them to basically have a month's free passage, I believe is what was arranged, to go back and forth across this bridge. So party needs to go across the bridge anyway. It seemed logical to them, and they agreed. And so the party has basically just left, because that's what we did when we switched to Titus, has just left that place, has left the inn with Fen, and is prepared to head over the bridge. So now as I hand things back over to the players, I will ask them, anything that I am missing that you want to do first? Or I think you all said you wanted to kind of make your way swiftly across the bridge, but I will leave that to you to decide. What would you folks like to do?
Well, you were also asking me what do the
oh yes
bardic inspirations look like. So
I
wanted to. So since Nulls is very much into dreams and like traversing dreams and that sort of thing, whenever one of their tales, like their tales of animals or heroes, that sort of thing. So the way the inspiration works when it's applied to someone else is it's like it comes up into the imagination like the memory of a dream, and it's like they have that power because they have dreamed it before, and they're kind of manifesting what they've always dreamed about.
That's pretty awesome. That's very cool. So that is something which we will have to take serious note of when these inspirations get used. Since I am occasionally prone to have little dream sequences that happen, so it could occur. It could occur. That's good stuff, Toya. Thanks.
Is it?
Yeah.
One quick. Is it possible that we can take rest? Because we haven't done that yet.
You can, sure. Although I thought maybe I'm wrong about that. Did you not take a short rest or a long rest? Maybe
I think
not.
the last one we took was back in.
In New Camelport? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, then I think you could probably do that, sure. Because what I have you all at full health at the moment, which suggests to me that either you did or I was assuming you were going to. The only one who got hurt was Titus, I think because of some situation with Gamork. I don't recall exactly.
Well, I still have 3 spell slots taken up. So.
Okay, so then, all right, well then, yes, then if you wanted to do a long rest here, I think you could do that. I should say for your, in case you folks are curious, that this trip down here, heading down to the Wormwood, which is basically you have to go through that to get to Elu's parents, is probably, if all goes well, he said laughingly, is probably a 2 days journey. So you probably will have to have at least 1, if not 2 long rests en route down, which doesn't mean you can't do it now. I'm just letting you know for just planning's sake how long the trip should theoretically take. But having said that, sure, you can definitely do that. You could even do that at the inn that you were just in the inn.
Is it nighttime?
It is, I believe it was heading on to, I want to say late afternoon, early evening. So you could definitely do that. If you wanted to cross over sort of during the nighttime because maybe you think it'd be quieter for other activity, you could do that. Otherwise, you could certainly wait until the morning.
Okay. Assuming we're all in the inn together, Draxus will kind of get together with everyone, the others, and say, well, I am interested in taking a little walkabout first span, and then maybe spending the night in the inn and heading off in the morning. I do want to know more specifically what Fen Haddock requires of us. He's letting us cross the bridge for free, which is great, but he wasn't very specific about the troubles that he wants us to fix, so I can talk to him about that. But otherwise, I think we're good to just chill and stay here, right, Elu? Nothing else pressing.
And Elu kind of nods, has been feeling a little distant since the whole situation with Gamork. You may remember on the other side wasn't wild about that arrangement. And so says, yes, but we should not waste time. If we need the rest, and we probably do, then let's make it as early in the morning as possible. And I'll settle things up with Fen. We can probably get a room here without too much difficulty. I do want to make one note, which is that Fen was fairly specific. There have been these bandit raids on the village and around the village that have been concerning, and what Fen asked was that while you were on your travels, if you're able to basically, is convinced that they're coming from somewhere, that they're not just random, but that they're actually raids of some kind. So if you're able to track down where the bandit raids are coming from, that would be much appreciated. And he's kind of giving you the, in quotes, advance of you're allowed to go over the bridge, on the assumption that you're going to do that. So he was fairly specific about that. Everything else is just, it sucks to be in the Badlands, but
All right. I think Jaraxxus's plan as we head into the evening, it will be to get to a relatively high point in First Span, like the top of a building, or if he needs to ask the inn to get onto the roof of the inn or wherever he can get a vantage point, and then maybe use his camera, his recording unit to try to zoom in and do some scouting, I guess.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Titus is already gone, as we know. What about Knowles and Fob? When are you starting your long rest, I guess would be my question.
Well, the other thing I wanted, because I have Song of Rest, but I don't know if that's worth using, because you said everybody has their hit points. It's not like they can get extra hit points, so...
Yeah, no.
I would be interested to walk around and see what's about.
Okay. All right. What about you, Fob?
Bob will go with you.
Okay. Are you going with Dr. Jaraxxus up to his vantage point, the high vantage point, or is Jaraxxus doing that on his own?
I think I'll do that on my own after we've all had a walk about the town. So maybe the three of us and Elu, if Elu wants to be with us, we all just kind of do a little tour and then split off after.
Okay.
Bob is going to walk about 5 feet behind you, skulking, but is there nonetheless.
And it's, by the way, it's not a very long walkabout. This, unlike New Camenport, which is sort of like frontier town, but has there's very little here. Your best guess is that maybe 20 to 25 people call this place home at any one time. There's the governor. There's maybe a handful of guards, maybe 7 or 8 guards. There's the bridge troll, who always stays, not surprisingly, on the bridge. There's a handful of merchants. And then there's Gazlin, who you may remember is the very cheery, welcome, guy that is actually the innkeeper. So the only real... There are sort of small, squat residential buildings, a few of them, mostly ramshackle. And at this time of night, there are not a lot of people around except the guards that greeted you to begin with when you came in. There is the grocer. It is the sole shop that exists in First Span. And it's fairly near, actually. Thank you for the resub, Chaotix. Hey ho, thank you for the 70 months of support. Oh, and one thing I left out, I forgot to mention this, chat. Remember, any bits that are cheered today during today's session go towards paying our players. So the bits will go to them. So if you cheer using Twitch's ability to do that, we will keep track of it. So far, that's been fairly successful. We've gotten a decent number of bits each month. So now is the one and only session you'll have a chance to show these folks your appreciation for their play. So if you get a chance to do some cheering, please do so. They would very much appreciate it, and so would I. Thank you so much for that, Chaotix. I appreciate it. So so there's the grocer, which is kind of in this, again, small squat building. The tallest building, Jaraxxus, just so you know, is probably the governor's office. So there's basically the inn, then there's the governor's office, which is more or less it's taller, but not by much. It's basically almost like a small squat tower, but it's slightly higher maybe than the inn would be, you would say. And that's generally where Fen Haddock is found when he's not at the inn.
I see.
He's usually at one of those two places.
Is So would governor be his title even like is he the governor of this 20-person village?
That is the title that he chooses. Yes,
I
perhaps he
understand.
calls himself governor of First Span. Maybe he's the governor of the
Okay.
bridge as much as anything.
Oh, that yeah, governor more in the literal sense rather
Yes.
than the rank. Okay.
Yes.
We don't find anything else much of interest.
No, well, I mean, you can feel free to like go check out more if you like, but that's basically what's obvious in the village. It's pretty small.
Is there anybody walking about? You said there were like a few people out, but not really.
Mostly guards.
So
basically
there are
guards.
no non-guards?
You don't think so, except for the bridge troll, who I don't know whether that counts. Probably not. You might be able to knock on the grocer's door and see if anyone's in there, and that would be one of the merchants, obviously, who, as far as you know, sleeps in, has a room upstairs from the grocery store, from the grocer. But that's probably it. Not a lot of people here. In fact, one thing that surprises you, I should say, or surprises all of you in a way, is how this place hasn't been overrun already. I mean, it's not very big. You'd think it would get wiped off the map very quickly. But perhaps the existence of the troll plus some good management. I mean, the guards are fairly well armored under the circumstances, but even with that, it's surprising. It's almost like this place is just kind of clinging on to the edge of the cliff, looking across the bridge at the eastern side.
Well, Knowles knows that if you really want to understand what's going on in a place, you don't talk to the leaders. You talk to the other people who live there.
Mm-hmm.
So she is interested in talking to the grocer if she can raise them.
Okay. Sure. So if you walk over to the grocer, so the door is locked, but you could do the, classic kind of like, open up in the name of the law. No, type of thing. Is that what you're going to do, Knowles?
So Knowles is going to knock on the door and say, "Hello? Are you open? We've traveled a long way. Want to see if we can get some wares for our trip."
Make a perception check for me, please.
Okay.
Jaraxxus is behind Knowles.
Okay.
And is recording, like making a short film almost.
Okay. All right. Let me just get that addressed. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So Knowles, you say those things that you just mentioned, and then you hear this sort of odd, although at the same time kind of familiar sound. And as you lean in, you hear it's definitely someone snoring.
Fob, you hear that? Think you can wake them up?
By something other than knocking.
I mean, can you get through the window?
I'll look at the window.
It looks like it. It's barred, but you think you could undo the bars, although it would... It's sort of hard to imagine how you do that without anyone noticing that happened to pass by, theoretically. But you could.
Yeah.
What if we threw something through the window?
It would have to be, well, because it's barred, that's going to be difficult.
Like a small rock.
Like a small rock. You might be able to do that, yes.
We could throw
Jaraxxus
several
says-
small rocks through it.
Well, just saying, I'm not going to stop you. I am going to record whatever we do. But
What is this record you speak of?
I haven't shown you yet.
No.
What am I doing? I'm so sorry. Here.
And I will. You see that Jaraxxus wears this sort of like visor with different overlays of circles and squares and this sort of futuristic, like augmented reality type Esper device. And
Magic buttons? Got it.
he'll take it off and he'll twist a dial on the side, and it will play back through the vision of the glasses of the visor, and he'll show it to you. Nalik standing at the door and hello, we just got here in town and would like to buy some of your wares. And that plays back. And he says,
and there we go. I can record things like a journalist would write down a journal of our adventures, but I can record it, like really record it. And I'll back up to when we were at the white tree out in the middle of nowhere with the berries, and then the wolves running up on us, and then kind of put the visor back on and say,
So it's an imprinting device.
yeah, I guess you could say so.
This is very cool magic. Very cool indeed.
So, I'll be honest, I'm more interested in action, in interesting things happening. I'm not going to stop you from throwing a rock through the window, but my conscience is guiding us to say maybe we shouldn't vandalize the town that we just entered, especially when we just got in the good graces of the governor.
Oh, maybe we can just yell real loud through the bars.
You are a bard. You are a mistress of sound. Surely you can project your voice through the window to great effect.
You're a bard? Do you play instruments?
I play instruments, I sing, I tell stories. I'm a storyteller. Through song, if you will, with a little bit of magic thrown in.
This is perfect.
Both metaphorical and literal.
All right. Well, let's hear something that will wake up a sleepy shopkeeper.
Ooh.
So Knowles is going to go up to the bars, and she takes a very, very, very deep breath, way down deep in the diaphragm, and starts singing into the windows about very tired, exhausted travelers who need the help that only the grocer can give, and come to the window, see who is here, who needs your aid.
And so you do all that, and you hear we're closed. We're closed.
And Knowles keeps singing, and as she's singing, because she got the little dream magic with her, she infuses her song so that the bard, so the grocer dreams that somebody is at the door, and it is somebody of great importance, somebody the grocer has always wanted to meet. And so he dreams of himself jumping out of bed and sprinting to the door to see who it is.
And so you hear this kind of like this kind of and then the sound of something hitting the floor, and there's a terrible smashing and crashing sound, and then the classic like a a plate or something like finishing up, and then what 1 moment, and you hear something padding very quickly up to the door, and then you hear like a bunch of locks being thrown apparently on this thing, and then the door opens, and the first thing that those of you looking at the front, which I guess is all of you now, looking at the front door see is inside into a darkened room. You see no one in front of you, and then you drop your gaze, and below you see what looks for all the world like the fantasy characters might call it a pixie. And for you, Jaraxxus, you might call this kind of a fantastically small creature with, you can't tell if they're wings. It's wearing a kind of what looks like a very tiny leather tunic and apron, and looks kind of bleary-eyed for all that, and is kind of looking up at you and says in this very deep, raggedy voice that is completely out of proportion for its size, well, you look familiar. Well, I thought you were coming. You seemed familiar to me. Well, all right. Come in anyway. I'm little out of it. You have to excuse me. I had a very strange dream. Some strange singing. And he turns around and is kind of muttering to himself about singing. And as you watch, he kind of like takes a couple of hops and then like flies, and you hear a little zzz of the wings as he kind of flies up. There is something odd about the flying, though. You're not quite sure what it is, but there's something about the buzzing that doesn't quite fit with what you would expect from a small winged creature, but nothing you can tell as of yet. Kind of flies over and then says, well, come in, don't be shy. And it's dark. Like, you can just barely see the darkened room in front of you.
Oh, and Nulls is...
Unless any of you have dark vision, I should ask. If any of you have like that. You do? Okay. So, Fob, you can see more clearly then, but Draxus and Nulls would not be able to as well. Sorry, go ahead, Nulls.
Null says to him, well, how fortuitous. We were just coming through. We've traveled from afar, and we thought we'd check out your wares. What's your name? I'm Nulls. Nulls Darkly.
This is Nulls Darkly, huh? Well, if you want to know my real name, a full name is rather a little bit hard to get into. It's sort of, well, I've tried to shorten it. It's, Cantabius Lionheart, the quadrilateral concept, and he goes through this, like multiple, God knows how many syllables. It takes probably about 30 seconds to get through it. And then he stops and says, but people around here usually call me Kentab.
Well, Kentab, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, why are you all standing out there? You should come in. What's the problem? Oh, I'm sorry. Of course you can't see. Yes, well, just a moment. And he turns and goes, and these Magitech, clearly, at least that's what they seem to the Cambrian folks, light up on either side. And now you can see inside this shop. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in, let me give you an example. If you've ever been in a used bookstore, and I imagine that many of us have been here, I hope. There's a certain type of used bookstore that is the bookstore that feels like it was built around the owner. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, I'm going to build a bookstore, and then books just kind of somehow materialized around them on shelves. Yeah. This feels very much like that, except not books, just a bunch of stuff, food stuff, a bunch of like leather backpacks maybe, or maybe they're canvas. It's a little hard to tell. There's a bunch of what look like walking sticks of various qualities over in one corner. You even see a rack of what look like weapons, although these weapons have seen much better days, like rusty kind of swords and axes and things like that behind them. But lots of stuff everywhere you look in this fairly small room. And there is a counter on top of which Cantab is now standing. And now that the lights are on, you can see that, I mentioned the leather tunic and all that stuff. You can see that Cantab has kind of a sort of grayish-white hair, a grayish-white wispy beard. But there is something odd about the wings. There's also something odd about the fact that I think we lost Toya.
Just completely lost Toya out of nowhere.
Okay. Came back. Hold on a second. Zach is Toya. 1 second. Haha, I fixed it.
I am back.
That's fine. Okay. No problem. So, anyway, so Cantab, you can see white wispy beard, gray white hair. But the other thing is the wings. And as he kind of, turns around and looks, you can see there is a glint of metal from the wings. These are metal wings that he has, not regular ones. I used to shop at that place. Rino said, yeah, so did I. I feel like we've all shopped at this place at some point.
Yeah. So upon first seeing this grocer, Jaraxxus, was pretty much as you described, looking straight forward through the door, and then looks down, and then probably would have gone like this. To look through his visor like, is this a glitch? And then he would have smiled and then turned to Fob, and it said quietly, I love this planet. And then would walk in and follow in. But otherwise it's just looking around. He doesn't do much else at the moment. He's just looking at all the different random knickknacks.
Is there anything in particular that I can help you find? I have many, many things. As you can see, we've got, I have them all very carefully sorted. We have walking stuff, and he points over at this one section that's like walking staves, and you think like maybe travel cloaks type of thing, and like backpacks. And then I've got fighting stuff, and he leans behind him, and you see the weapons and the knives and the daggers and axes and swords and stuff. And then I've got stuff, and he points at this other pile which has like a hopeless collection of junk, from what you can tell. Metal bits, crystal pieces, like all this weird stuff kind of just in a pile. And I've got eating stuff. And he points to a table not that far from the front on which is laden a bunch of somewhat sketchy looking vegetables, fruits, and things like that. It kind of looks like the day-old counter at the store, sort of thing.
Nulls is going to speak to Kintab and say, well, I'm sure you know about all the tumult in the region, and we're about to head across that bridge. Is there anything that you would recommend?
Well, I'd recommend you make sure you got some money first, because they're not going to let you pass without that. He's a pretty good sort, but if you get over there, you're going to find him. His name, by the way, well, it's a little embarrassing, to be honest. His name is, and he drops his voice as if people were listening, even though there's obviously no one here. He's like, his name is Span. He's not the brightest. You see, he thought that span would fit because the bridge spans over the cleft, and so he calls himself Span. But don't make fun of him. He doesn't like that name.
Well, it does sound like he takes his job seriously, though.
Very seriously. If you want to get thrown off a bridge by an angry troll, I wouldn't. I mean, I could fly, but I wouldn't want to get close. Anyway, once you have money, you get past him. It's all smooth sailing until you get to the other side. And then, well, then you got all kinds of wolves and death hounds and creatures from above, and of course the bandits. They've been a problem.
Oh,
we've heard about those.
Oh yeah.
Yes, do tell. Wolves especially. Have you heard of any wolves that seem to be special in what they're wearing or in their abilities?
I haven't heard about that, but I've heard a lot of howling. A lot of it over the last couple of days. This unearthly howling, enough to raise the dead. I don't much like it. I don't mind telling you. It's not good for business. Makes it very hard for me to keep my rigorous sorting system in place. Why, I even had some trouble figuring out where to put my stuff the other day. I came back from a foraging expedition, and I was so rattled by the howling. I was like, does this go in eating stuff or just stuff? It's difficult to run a place, I'll tell you, when you got those worries. But I haven't seen them myself for a while. Just the howling is all I hear.
What about the bandits? Have you been victim to them?
They're bad news. A caravan that was due here, supposed to restock basically first span. The whole thing got set upon. It never arrived. We sent some guards out and found the whole thing had been wrecked. They took the stuff and must have gone back with them. We tried to ask New Camimport for help, but those people are too busy making a buck and worrying about what's happening. And he jerks his thumb up towards the sky. With those people. And for those of us down on the ground, well, we've got our own problems. I feel like we're on our own. No one says it, but the bandits, I don't like it. They're acting all organized in a way they haven't been before.
Do you think that might have something to do with what's happening, up there?
Oh, I don't know much about what happens up there. I just know they care about it. If up there really cared about what happens down here, they'd send someone once in a while. We're supposedly under the, what is he called? The Pre-March? Primrose, whatever his name is. I don't care. That guy's never come down here to say anything to me. If he did, I'd show him just what stuff he could stick himself into. You know what I'm saying?
But
Draxus shoots a look at Nalik and Fob and Elu when the
Elu did not come with you on this. Elu's back in the end, just so you know. Yeah, Elu was like,
then just looks at my two friends when the grocer says needs to send someone from up there. Draxus kind of makes a coy look at both of you.
When you say up there, what do you mean?
The city in the clouds up there, the place where people get high on their own supply. Up there, I'm talking about Cambria. That's the place. You know that place, don't you? Don't you? Or you've lived your whole. You don't look like you've lived here your whole lives. No, and I would know. There's only 20 people in this town.
I have heard stories of it. Yes.
Oh, well, You're no reason to waste your time up there. Those people, I don't know what they do, stare at clouds all day. No chance to actually get down deep, down here where the real stuff is to be found. This is where you find stuff. Up there, I don't know what they do, but it's not finding stuff, that's for sure.
But I am curious. Things seem rather peaceful here, despite all of the nonsense going on beyond the bridge. Is that due to Span? Or do you have other guardian angels?
Oh, we have some pretty good guards here. And frankly, he kind of gives a shrug. He says, if you've been out in this town for any period of time, it's, I don't know. Why would you want to destroy this town? What's to destroy? The only reason to do anything with this town is the bridge. And like you said, Span's got that covered. As for the rest of it, there's nothing really here to rob. Well, if they knew the valuable stuff I kept, but I have a very comprehensive security system, as you can see. And he kind of sweeps his hand over, and you can, as you turn around, if you follow his like gesture, you can see that there's just like lock. Like there must be like 15 locks on this door, but you do note that the barred windows are, it's open, like,
One more.
Yeah. Well, no, they're barred, but it is open to the air. But like that door is, no joke.
But you seem pretty happy here, even though it's small.
Look, life is what it is, right? You're born, it's crap, you die. But for me, I've made a living out of finding more interesting things out of the crap. I've found some good stuff, and I figure if I find some good stuff, make some money off of selling some stuff, trade for some other stuff, that's all good stuff. I've been able to find some good stuff is what I'm saying. That's my motto. Live your life for the good stuff.
And could you show us this good stuff?
Well, it's here. Look at this. And he kind of like reaches over to the pile, and he just like shoots a hand in somehow into this pile of metal and whatever. And then he pulls forth, he says, now feast your eyes on this. And he takes this, it looks like kind of a little silver coin almost. And he flips it up in the air. Now remember, he's a pixie, so this thing is pretty big on his hand, but he manages to flip it up in the air, and then he tosses it on the counter, and it starts spinning. Whoa, 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 whoa. And he says, pretty neat, huh? But wait, you haven't seen the best part. And then he looks at it, and he snaps twice, and it goes, and it spins so fast that it's now making this almost sound. And he just sort of watches it and then snaps twice again, and it and just kind of like a coin coming to rest stops. And he's like, ha, now you don't see that stuff every day.
Now, you said you go foraging. Where'd you find that beauty?
Listen, I can't give away all my trade secrets. Suffice to say, I was out in the land beyond, as they say. I know Span, you see, and he let me go by. The truth is I can just fly around him. He's not very bright, like I said. But I said, oh, Span, can you let me go? He said, all right. And then I went by, and I went and explored, and I found this skeleton. It was at the bottom of this little gully. Poor guy must have pitched down and hit his head or something and died there long time ago. And, I thought it was important to make sure I could do honor by the dead. And there's nothing more disrespectful than letting the dead just have their stuff sitting on top of them. That's the most disrespect. So I went and I looked, and sure enough, he had a pouch, and in the pouch he had this thing. And, well, it turns out you can do what I did with it just now.
May we get a handle on that? Can I touch it? Can I hold it?
Well, sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can handle the merchandise.
Can I get to the tactileness of it?
Oh, yeah, of course you can handle the merchandise. Just be careful. If you break it, I'd have to charge you.
And so Alls wants to figure out what this is, because it seems kind of magitech-y, or maybe something that she can't explain. Hey, everybody see this? And she's also going to show it to, as she's holding it to Fob and Jaraxxus.
Okay.
So she's holding it out to them so they can see it.
So, and it looks like it looks like a pretty nondescript silver coin, but on one side of the coin is basically just sort of just kind of more or less blank silver. There's like a little design, but it's clearly decorative. It's not like any kind of, letters or anything. But on the other side of it is this strange runic symbol. You don't know what it is. It is this kind of weird crossing of lines. It almost looks like in the old Terran language alphabet, an H, but it's clearly not an H. It's some kind of stylized rune of some sort. And that's just engraved into the surface of the silver coin. Otherwise,
now I've got a really quick
yeah,
question about it.
Sure.
Because Nulls took a coin off of one of the guards from the bridge when they were leaving Hamria. Is it similar to that?
No, it looks much older.
Okay.
Much older.
Bob would like to look at the pile of fighting stuff and look to see what knives there are.
Ah, okay. So, Fob, there's a moment where you probably are tempted to give in to the despair of, oh God, like look at that, like, because it's like, some of the swords there's a wooden sword, like, Fisher Price, my first sword. No, it's very much a not a real weapon. But as you're looking through this sort of junky, you wonder if maybe Cantab actually like made any of this himself or something in the backyard. But there is one thing that you discover, and that is at the sort of bottom of all of this is this what looks like exceedingly rusty dagger, like so rusty that you don't even know how it's actually still functional. Like it ought to just crumble. But it doesn't. And when you pick it up, you are surprised how incredibly light it is. It ought to have some kind of, it should be heavy because it's have some kind of heft, but it feels like you're holding almost like a dart, Fob, as you pick this up.
This looks worthless. How much do you want for it?
And Cantab looks and immediately sees it and sees you holding it and goes, now I can see your friend's got taste. This is the kind of thing that you want here. People who understand value. Well, that may look useless, but in fact, you've picked up the best weapon this side of the cleft. And then he sort of chuckles and says to Nulls and Jaraxxus, although maybe it's the only real weapon that's actually this side of the cleft. And he winks. And then he says back to you, this thing is pretty powerful, though. I don't know. It took a while before I actually even knew some of what this thing could do. I don't know how old it is, and I don't know how long it'll last. But what you've got right there is a dagger of magical properties. He gets this big grin on his face.
So someone rubbed magic on it?
Oh, I don't know if they rubbed it. I'd say that magic was a part of the making of this thing. You can tell it just by looking at it. In fact, you can tell it when you hold it. That thing is very dangerous in the right hands, and you look like someone who understands dangerous daggers.
I don't think this is a very dangerous dagger, but I have a small nephew that I would like to purchase it for back home. So perhaps I could give you a few copper for it.
A few copper? Small nephew? He's like, look, if you gave this to your small nephew might end up skewering themselves. I don't think... Look, hand me that. And
he's a very intelligent child.
He says, and he says to you, Jaraxxus, kind of indignantly, hand me that. And you don't know exactly what he's talking about because you're like standing next to like this pile. But then you see that on the top of it is this kind of big metal circle that almost looks like a target. Like it has like, circles within it. And he says, hand me that, would you?
I do.
And he takes it, and again, with him, like it's sort of, he daggers a little bit under his weight, but he pushes up with his wings. You hear that strange metallic buzzing again, and he goes up and he hangs it on one wall of his small shop. And then he flies over to you, and he says, now, this dagger that you want to give to your small nephew, how about you take that dagger and throw it towards the target? And by the way, don't really worry if you're not throwing it quite right at it. Just, general vicinity.
All right. And I will throw it, and I'm trying not to actually hit the target, but hit just outside it.
When you throw it, the dagger, first of all, heads in the direction that you threw it. But then, as it gets somewhat close to the target, as if it's been yanked to the center, hits dead center of the target. And when it does so, a few flakes of rust, like orange rust metal, kind of flake off and kind of float to the ground. And it just sort of sits there quivering. And Cantab sort of chuckles. Not deadly, huh? Not something you want to give to your nephew, a few copper.
How do I know the target's not magic?
And he says, oh, well, for that. And he says, you got another dagger?
Maybe.
And he sort of, so he kind of pulls at the rusty dagger, like, all right, can someone do this, please?
I pull it out for him.
Okay, so you pull it out, and then he says, all right, you throw one of your daggers at it then.
I'm going to throw my dagger, and I'm going to try and do exactly the same thing where I try to throw it just outside the target.
Okay, and stunk unerringly right into the wall next to the target where you threw it.
Huh.
He says, I wonder why that happened. Couldn't be that the small nephew weapon had something to do with it, eh? I'm telling you, this thing is very, very powerful, in the right hands especially.
You still have never told me how many copper pieces you wish for it.
Well, because we're not talking copper. This thing is worth gold. And his eyes widen. Gold.
Gold? How much gold?
And he says, well, now, here's the thing. This thing obviously is magical. You can see it for yourself. But the truth is, I don't know how long it's going to stay magical. It might be the next time you throw it'll be the last time it works. Or it might be that you use it and you'll get years of use. So it's a variable situation, you might say. So given that that's the case, he kind of rubs his chin, gives you an appraising look. I'd say I could let this go for 100 gold. You seem like the right person for it.
Well, I'll just sort of step back. I don't have that kind of coin.
Too bad. But if you're lucky, no one else will notice the rusty dagger that never misses. And he brings it back to the stuff. And the other stuff is, like, you're pretty confident the other stuff is pretty bad, Fob.
Right. So the target that it was thrown at, is the target metal?
The target does look to have some metallic, it like has a metal rim, but you think the inside of it actually may be made of some other kind of softer substance like cork or straw or something that's kind of held together. But the outer rim of the thing is probably metal, yeah.
Because in such the way that you described it being yanked midair towards the center of the target, Jaraxxus's first thought was, assuming that magnetism exists on the Espergenesis side of things.
Yep.
Jaraxxus would just be like, oh, he's calling it magical. It's just magnetic, in some degree.
And it's conceivable that it is conceivable that it is. It's possible that the rear of the target has some kind of metal like pieces, or that the straw itself is infused with metallic, like, dust or something like that. That is possible, because it certainly behaved like something that was pulled, even like with an electromagnet. But it wasn't the target doing the pulling. It was something about the dagger that reacted with something in the target to do this.
Jaraxxus will turn to Fob and Cantab and say, so it guides to anything? Or does it just guide to practice targets?
Well, that would be another question. He seems to be implying that it guides to anything. And I'm going to suddenly whip around and give the guy a keen stare as I say that, and then turn my attention back.
And he says, well, of course, I haven't had a chance to use it much myself in combat. You can see it's a bit larger than would be useful for me. But I can tell you that I've seen this thing yank towards many things. they do tend to have some kind of, well, it seems to be attracted to armor, to helmets, to, let's see, certain kinds of weapons. It does seem to be attracted to those a little bit. But if you throw this thing and it's got any of those properties, it's going to hit it dead on. You can check the target for yourself if you're worried, but believe me, I'm telling you that this thing is worth quite a bit.
Draxus will pull the target off the wall and look at the back of it.
Okay. Let me have you make an... No, let me have you make a mechanics check. We'll do this Esper Genesis way.
13.
It doesn't look like it. I mean, it's pretty thin. I mean, it doesn't look like there's much of a place where there could be a mechanism in it. You see the little hook that it's used to hang up on the wall. There's a metal rim around it, but it looks kind of like this very fine, like straw or hair or something has been pressed together to form the inside of this target, and then the metal rim on the outside presumably keeps the stuff together. So there's no obvious like mechanism or anything you can see there.
Okay. Draxus will say kind of under his breath to Fob, if you really want to get this thing, I can pitch in for half of his asking price, though I do think he needs more talking down.
I think he needs, and then I'll kind of like look up and make sure the guy's not listening to us, and I'll say, I think he does need talking down. But trolls are more vulnerable to magic. So I'm thinking a magic dagger might not be a bad thing, because I don't think we have a lot of magic weaponry.
Right.
So if you're willing, I can put up, well, I'll turn around and I'll say to the guy, I'm pooling all our resources. Would you be willing to take 60 gold pieces?
And he kind of like, he sort of like rubs the side of his face. He's like, 60 gold for this dagger of great
can I make
accuracy,
a
clearly making up the name as he says it.
Roll.
Yeah, but don't. But give me. Let's just talk for another few seconds. Though.
Okay, yeah, that's totally cool.
Because I'm heading towards that. I think.
Okay,
so
okay.
what is
So
yeah, that's what he says. Like, this is like a dagger of great, unerring accuracy. Clearly making
possibly
it up.
only once. I think you're forgetting. I mean, look at how much flaked off during that time and how little is left.
And he kind of looks.
Well, I mean, it may not work again, so why would she need the nephew after that?
It will definitely work again, because this thing you can see still has a point, still has a blade, and it's possible it could break. But listen, even say that it does. Let's say you're fighting, I don't know, some mechanized beast out there. Let's say you're fighting some, I don't know, flying lizard. Wouldn't you want to be in a situation? And he stops. He says, "Apologies. I didn't mean any offense. Of course. Let's use another."
I look appalled. I'm going to take full advantage of that. I'll be like, "Flying lizard."
Well, sorry. I mean, of course,
that was
wouldn't be the
a
case.
bit out of line.
Yes, I apologize. That was unfortunate. I was thinking about flying, and then I was looking at, but never mind. So imagine you're fighting some big, terrible creature. Well, this thing, if you throw this, you only need to throw it and hit it once. Hit this thing in the heart, and you'll be happy that you had the one-time only use, as opposed to being run over by this flying, and then he stops, beast of terror.
You're essentially asking me to gamble that I will be in some desperate situation from which only this dagger can save me.
He pauses and looks at you. He says, "No, I'm asking you not to gamble when you're in that situation and don't have this weapon." And he grins widely.
This one shot, two shot, maybe no shot.
Maybe
weapon.
100 shot.
Yeah, look at it.
It could just disintegrate.
It hasn't.
That thing flakes every time you look at it.
And he sort of looks at it, and he sort of stares at it, and then looks back to you. See? It's just sort of lying there, you know.
So 60 gold is fair then.
And he kind of grunts. He says, you know what? You folks seem like people that are going to try to help out, do what you can. I'm going to let this go for 80 gold. It's something I wouldn't normally do, but, you know, I think it's clear that you folks need some help out there. So I will let this extraordinarily valuable dagger of accurate throwing mastery go with you.
I think that is very, very kind of you, and I would like to extend the same sort of courtesy and suggest that we meet in the middle at 70.
And he kind of grunts and grumbles, and he's kind of like, 70. 70. Okay, now you can make your persuasion check for me, please, Fob.
Draxus will say, who else are you going to sell this to?
The next people that come in here and need something before they go into the Badlands.
I rolled a natural 20.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. So he's just like, please take my store. No, he doesn't say that. He says, he says, all right. Well, yeah, exactly. $1. $1. Exactly right. Here, I'll take $1. I suddenly thought of the Blues Brothers, the crew. How much for the crew? So he says, all right. You know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I will give this dagger for 70 gold on one condition. When you're out there, you may come across stuff. Now, I don't know what stuff's going to be out there. I know what stuff I've found. What I do know is that if I want to have more stuff, I need others to find stuff that they can stuff with my stuff.
Oh, sure.
So,
sure.
I need you
to sell back to you, sure.
No, wait a minute on this selling thing. I'm going to ask you to keep whatever you find, but I'm going to ask you to keep one thing that you might find and keep it for me. It's got to be something unusual, something powerful, something strange, something surprising. If you find it, bring it back to me. I'll gamble, he says, nodding at your direction, Fob, that you'll do this. Then I'll sell this to you for 70, and I'll figure I had some prospectors out there working to bring me some stuff.
Very well. Very well.
All right, then. In that case, let's see. You want me to... I can throw in a sheath, if you like. And he's like, I got some sheath stuff. And he looks over at one counter, and there's just like this pile of all kinds of crappy-looking sheaths, you know, like leather, maybe they were once, and there's a couple ones that you think might be made of paper, but there's like one that might basically kind of fit.
I'll take the one that looks like it might fit.
That one goes for free.
Very well. Very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then just so make a note, whoever is paying that total 70 gold, when you slide Fob the dagger into it, there's this horrifying moment as you slide it in, and like there's this like little flakes coming off as it's going into the sheath, and he's like, I'm sure that's fine. It's just breaking in. It's just breaking it in. Just settling into the sheath.
During the negotiations, Nalik took note of the fact that Kinvat talked about mechanized beasts. But before she gets to that, she does want to analyze this coin.
Okay. We will talk about the coin thing in just a second. Quick note just before I leave this behind. So Fob, mechanically, what you have here is essentially a dagger of accuracy is what we'll call this.
Okay.
And basically what this means is that if you throw this dagger in combat, you can use this dagger, and when you throw it, you can use it at advantage. Also, it is a +1 dagger.
Nice.
So you're using a +1 dagger at advantage. However, whenever you roll this, or whenever you throw this, you have to roll a 100-sided die in addition.
Oh, God.
When you roll this, if you get a 1 out of 100, it breaks and it's destroyed. And every time you use it thereafter, that number goes up by 5% every time.
All right.
So 1, 5, 10, 15, et cetera, et cetera.
Got it. Got it.
Of breaking the next time. So, yeah. I've made a note about that, but also remind me when you use it. Also, not a good idea to use this in melee. This does not look like it would hold up to that very well, but for throwing, so. Rudnell Dagger. Dagger, really? Also, hi, Geister. Geister wanted to point out that your nephew, the young nephew, would put an eye out with that, so it'd be dangerous. Okay, so now, analyzing the coin, you wanted to do Nulls. And Jaraxxus, you wanted to do that as well, or what was your...
No, I was going to ask Kat real quick, did you have all 70 of the gold that you needed, or do you need...
I need 20, please.
Okay, I can do that. I passed 20 over to you. That's his old.
Okay. So, Nulls. So this coin... let me have you make actually I think I'll have you make a history check. Let me make sure if that's what I want to do. Well, actually, let me not tell you what to do. What are you looking for in this coin?
Well, you said there's a rune on it.
Yes.
So the one side looks kind of, basic.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, there's a rune.
Yes.
And the story is that it came off of a skeleton. It was in a pouch.
Right.
And so it seems to be very, very old. And also, we don't have any idea of like the person who had this coin before.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems magical, yes, and it seems like it might have mystical properties. So Nalik would be curious about that. It does seem to be very ancient, and it seems to be very mystical.
So, let me have you make a history check, which is intelligence based. So yeah.
How's that?
Ooh, look at all you people bringing the rolls today. That 22. Yes, Nulls, you've heard about this coin, but if it's true that this is what you think, then I should say not this coin, but this rune. You think this dates pre-Cataclysm, before the explosion that so radically transformed the surface of the planet. This is very old, and the only thing you would know about it is that it would obviously be very valuable to a collector, but there is also a kind of since you deal in stories, you know about this, there is a legend about those who take the coins of the dead who may have been killed or destroyed or forever altered in these cataclysms. And the legend is not a pleasant one. A lot of talk about curses and things that do not die, that seek out those who have taken from them.
Well, Nalik will have a little chat with him about that.
Okay.
This coin. And she's got it between her fingers, and she kind of flips it between her fingers. How long has it been in your possession?
Oh, I've probably had this, I don't know. I got that maybe a month ago, 2, something like that.
And what was your life like before it? How was your business? How were your relationships?
He kind of, fine? Why?
You seem a little confused about that. Are you sure?
Well, I mean, like, I ran a store and I sold stuff, and now I run a store and I sell stuff. Why?
But would you say things are more pleasant then?
And he kind of looks around and and he looks at, like, he like goes to the window, kind of looks out at the deserted town of First Span, mostly deserted. And he's like, listen, I don't fully understand what you're getting at. His place is not great. Really never has been great. but it's not worse. It just is.
Well,
along with my stuff.
You said you found this on a skeleton.
Yeah. Well, that happens all the time. Look, the guy was at the bottom of a valley. His neck was bent this way. He probably, I don't know, tripped and fell. Happens all the time. Badlands are not a good place.
Do you recognize this rune?
No. Looks like maybe a letter, some kind.
Yeah.
Do you
I've
recognize
heard
it?
stories
You read
of it.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah?
and I've studied the arcane. This rune is attached to curses. There are stories that if you disturb the dead where these runes lie, those curses will follow you.
And he gets this very serious look, and he's like, right. So, here's the thing about curses. Life itself, you could argue, is a curse. But I don't choose to look at it that way. And, unless you've been hanging out with the people upstairs, he points up again to the sky, then, I can tell you I'm not really much interested in, curses. I'm not really concerned. But if you are and you want to take it off my hands, I'd be happy to sell it to you. Just be afraid of the, and he kind of looks at Jaraxxus and winks, the curse.
So Nalik puts the coin down on the table with a little clink.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, I'm not particularly interested in taking it off your hands, but you see the life and the energy in it. If you ever have an enemy who comes by, you might want to slip that one on them. And that's just a little tip from me, because you've been so kind to us this evening.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. And he kind of, thinks about it. And all right. And although he kind of still sort of chuckles a bit, you do notice him kind of sliding over slightly from the coin, when he's standing on the counter. And he says, well, listen, as enjoyable as this has been, technically my store is closed for the night. So if there's anything else, if you wouldn't mind making your purchases, because I do have to get some sleep.
You don't have any shields of the magic sort?
I wish I did. I do have some shields. And he goes behind the counter, and he says, hey, can one of you give me a hand here? And you hear this groaning and creaking of something from behind the counter.
Jaraxxus does.
Okay, and so you reach behind the counter, and you have to fight to pull forward. This looks, for all the world, like the front door of to jump out of game for a minute, a refrigerator. That clearly can't be right, but it basically looks like a ice box chest door or something. It does look to have some metal and wood in it. It is very tall, very cover based, there's a lot of cover, and super bulky. And he's just like, now that, I think even Span might have a hard time getting through that one. Of course, you might fall over trying to keep it in front of him, but still, because this thing is heavy and clearly not balanced to be a shield. To be clear, this is not what this was designed for. It looks like someone took a door and just put a handle on it and called it a day.
So Nalik says, well, yes, that is something. But you mentioned mechanized beasts?
Yeah, mechanized beast. Well, this might protect against that also, as Jaraxxus almost pitches forward with it,
And where have you seen those? Because I certainly wouldn't want to run into them.
No, I think you'll be fine. Some of those mechanized beasts, I see them up in the air sometimes kind of flying around, but I haven't seen any for a while. I heard, some howling, like I said, but other than that, when I went out and I got that coin, I didn't see any creatures that day, just heard the howling in the distance.
Well, as you said, it is late, and you were so very generous to let us in the first place. We're very sorry we disturbed your sleep, but at least it sounds like you were having pleasant dreams.
I was. It was very strange too. I was having this dream about. I was in this warehouse and I was going down rows looking at stuff. My favorite kind of dream. And then I heard this knocking, and all of a sudden I heard some announcement in the warehouse that said, "Cantab to the front door. Most important person ever. Cantab to the front door." And I knew I had to go. And I woke up and there you were. And I even made a sale out of it. So it was fine. It was good seeing you. Be careful out there. And if you change your mind about the shield, which at this point, Jaraxxus, you've set back down, is kind of banged heavily against the counter, you let me know. Or, if you ever want to get that cursed coin. Although, again, he's moved even further away from the cursed coin.
Well, and as they're leaving, Nulls sings her goodbyes to Cantab, and again, she's singing that Cantab returns to this wonderful dream that he was having.
So, and he closes the door behind you, smiling, unless you wanted to say anything else. Sure.
Yeah, as we're heading out, how many walking sticks does he have?
Like 20.
Okay, I'd like to buy... Jaraxxus will kind of take a quick look at his friends, and then remembering how tall Titus is and Elu, Jaraxxus is going to buy a walking stick, assuming they're not very expensive.
500 gold, no.
Yeah. Buy a walking stick for each of us, and then an extra one.
Okay, he probably would let those go for about 2 silver put all together. So, like, 2 silver would cover the whole group.
Total. Oh, okay, wow, great. All right.
Cool. I said, little ambitious to call these walking sticks. I mean, that's clearly what they are, and they will do the job. They are very sturdy and all that, but they definitely look like big sort of branches that have been loosely shaped, for use. So yeah.
Right. In combat, could it act like a quarterstaff, but it'll probably break?
I was going to say it would be a quarterstaff, but probably at a negative. It would probably be like a -2, I would say, to hit, because it's not super, sturdy and stuff like that.
Best
Although all of a sudden I'm thinking about Zelda Breath of the Wild weapon breaking, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay. All right. For 2 silver, as Nulls sings us on our way out, and Fob has the new rusty dagger. I'll walk out with a bunch of sticks and pass one to Fob and Nulls, and then kind of put the rest in my pack on my back.
You are most generous, my friend from the skies.
Of course. Well, it's officially night now, it looks like. I did want to... it might serve us better to scout during the day, but I don't know, maybe there's somewhere with some fires or something, a source of light. I was going to see if I could try to find where those bandits are camping nearby. So, I think to do that, and I glance over at the governor's building.
Where you can see a couple of, not torches, but they look like maybe Magitech, again, those like lanterns, those Magitech lamps, burning kind of at the 4 corners of the roof of the building, and there's one by the door of that building as well.
I'm going to go find the governor and ask him to use his roof. You're welcome to join me, otherwise I'll see you back at the inn, I guess. And Jaraxxus walks off towards the governor's house.
Well, and Nulls calls after him, "Would you mind company?"
Oh, no, I said you're welcome to come if you would like.
Fob, what are you doing?
And we go.
Bob will follow at 5 paces behind, as always.
Well, let's go find some bandits.
I think that is a good space for us to take our break. You are watching, folks, day 14 of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, called To the Valley. And we are going to get to the valley, I promise. It's happening next. We're having fun in this town of First Man. But there is more to come. If you like what you've seen and heard, please follow. And remember, today, all bits that are cheered during the stream today will be given to the players. They will be distributed among the players. So if you haven't already done so and you're like, this is fun and these people are great, and they are, then you should definitely throw a few bits their way if you can. No obligation, but always appreciated if you're able to do so. It is 9:06, so we will be back here, let's say 5 minutes, so like 9:11, well, let's say 9:12 to avoid any unfortunate connotations. And we will be right back to you folks in a little bit. Hang tight.
Sounds good.
So, welcome back, everybody. We are back as day 14 of Expedition for the Mysterious Peaks continues to the Valley, the name of this episode. And we will be going, so chat knows, we'll be going for another hour and 15, and we will close up shop at 10:30. So, Eastern. So, as we were leaving, the crew was preparing to go climb up a building, he said jokingly, sort of, at least being able to kind of get to the top of this tower, which again, I do not want to oversell. It is a tower only insofar as it is taller than anything else, but that doesn't say a whole lot. But it is the tallest structure in First Span, and it's not very wide. It's fairly narrow, and that's the governor's place.
All right. We Draxus will lead the way and go to the door.
Okay. So the door is currently locked, and there are lanterns around the outside. As I mentioned, these Magitech lamps. There's one lantern right next to the door, and then there's a few that are up on the roof. But otherwise, the door is locked.
Does it look like there are lights on inside?
It looks like there might be one that you can just kind of see the light peeking out from underneath the door. But it does not look like very well lit. There are a couple of windows, like middle. There's one in the middle of the tower, in quotes, and then one up at the top.
Are we sure that no one is in here, or that nothing is protecting the tower?
You don't know if anyone is in here or not. As far as whether it's protected by something, you're not sure. But you do know that this is kind of the governor's home, basically.
I'll knock on the door.
Okay. No response.
Maybe he's back at the inn.
I just want to make sure there's nothing protecting this space. Like
Why?
a particular spell or an incantation that could send us flying.
Do you plan on breaking in? What is it with you two
Oh,
and
no,
breaking into
no, no.
places?
No,
Is this a normal thing on this world? You just...
No, it's not breaking in. It's just another measure of security that people have here.
Right, but
Unforeseen. Nasty.
security is needed if you break into a place. That's not what we're doing. I'm walking away, and whatever it was, it hasn't triggered if there was something, so...
Well,
Here,
you are
be my
planning
guest.
to
I'll
crawl
back
up.
up.
You're planning to get to the top of this building, right?
With his permission.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't say that.
Yeah, nothing
And,
was said about
Jaraxxus
permission.
kind of blinks and says, "Are you two...
I'm not a criminal, okay? Not that... I mean, there is a little something wrong with it, but I have a reputation to uphold, and...
Baby, nobody knows you here.
This is true, but even still, I don't want to build a bad reputation.
Well, and I don't want you to go against your own integrity.
Right. That being said, do the two of you normally break into places?
Well, no, you didn't say you weren't going to ask.
But why would you assume?
Because you just marched on over here, and we just followed.
To knock on his door.
Well,
I'm
and now he's
confused.
not there, so let's head back to the inn, see if he's
Yes.
there, and ask for permission.
You didn't
That was
say
easy,
much.
isn't it?
Jaraxxus looks at Fob.
Yes, we should go back to the inn. We don't go around breaking into things normally, no.
He sort of narrows his eyes at both of you. All right. And then walks towards the tavern.
And we don't have to RP this out. The short version of this is that the governor is not clear at what you're doing, but is kind of like, when you explain it to him, is willing to let you basically climb up to the top of the tower. Although he makes it clear that you're not likely to see anything from there, especially at night. But, as far as he's concerned, it's okay with him if you want to do that and you're careful. Although he's also clear to tell you that if you fall to your death, that the town will not be liable.
So we have to climb the outside of his house?
No, there is a trap door in the top floor of the room. And he is going to escort you, by the way. He's not going to let you go in yourself. But so he will allow you to do that. And it's a trap door. When you get up there, it's a little narrow and quite creaky. I didn't actually think I'd ever get the chance to use this story in a tabletop game. But when I was young and foolish, and I probably was about, 18, 19, younger than that, might have been 17. There was this in the woods of the town where I lived. There was a pond and what looked basically like a ski jump, like a winter ski jump ramp that had been built next to it. And obviously, it couldn't possibly have been a ski jump. It must have been like a kind of a water skiing thing where you like go down and jump out and then into the pond. And it was old and abandoned and was ridiculously stupid to climb it. So clearly that's what we did. And I remember being on it and feeling the thing slowly swaying below me as we were on it. I'm really glad in retrospect that I did it and really glad that I survived to speak to you about it now. Anyway, this is the impression that you have on top of this tower because it's slightly swaying in the breeze. And it does not feel super stable. Now, it doesn't feel like it's going to fall over any second, but it definitely is not the most comfortable, like rock solid, I'm locked in. Nonetheless, there is enough of an area that all three of you can be up top and kind of look out at the land beyond. I'm going to switch over to my map screen here again for what is visible. Yeah, and that, by the way, is the sort of picture of the opposite side of the cleft, which I've shown before. So what Jaraxxus are you looking for specifically? I know you said, like, the bandits, but, like, can you specify, like, more of what that would look like?
So I'm going to... I'm looking for... given looking at nighttime, just looking for any sources of light. I know it's a stretch, but like if I can find a campfire in the distance or some sort of settlement, or if not that, then, I guess two things. First off, I want to see if we can even see New Camenport from here.
Okay.
If we can see the lights from that as a starting foundation.
Okay.
Then I want to look for any other nearby lights from camps or other things, and then assuming with all these sim shows that Dr. Jaraxxus has probably watched, he's thinking in his head, well, actually, let me see how intelligent he is. He's very intelligent. Yeah, so he'd be like, no, they'd probably be hiding in like a mountain pass or like somewhere out of sight. And so next he would look for maybe a notable... there's this bridge right here, and it's almost like there's a huge ravine, like a gully.
Yep.
Or a canyon.
Yep.
And so he would then focus his attention, assuming he doesn't see anything on level ground with lights or anything. He would just look as far down the canyon as he can to see if there's anything of interest.
Okay.
Camenport and lights and the canyon.
And Fob would like to assist with the eye for detail ability.
Okay. Tell me about the eye for detail ability.
So it says you can use a bonus action to make a perception check to spot a hidden creature or object, or to make an investigation check to uncover or decipher clues.
Cool.
But I want to use that to add to Zach's. If I can assist him, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to think of how to... And you said advantage on the... Did you say advantage on the roll, or what?
No, a bonus action to make a perception check to spot a hidden creature or object, or to make an investigation check to uncover or decipher clues.
Okay, but it doesn't give you any particular bonus on those things, per se.
Yeah, I guess it just lets Fob do it faster than a normal person.
Okay.
Like bonus action, rather.
I don't really think you'd be able to assist, but I think you could do it on your own, Fob. You could definitely do that yourself. So I will allow, and for that matter, I guess I guess that Nulls, you could also look, although it is pretty dark, but you could also make a perception check if you want as well, to kind of get a sense of this.
I see nothing.
Darkness.
I'm going to.
Okay, I'll come back to those.
Okay, I'll turn to Fob and see that Fob's kind of struggling to point things out, or to see. And Jaraxxus will kind of turn to Fob and say, he by the way, Jaraxxus is also like, he's using his recording unit to its fullest capabilities. So the item as published in the Esper Genesis book even says it's a piece of headgear that can record panoramic video at all angles, including the recorder. And so I'm in that full mode right now, doing a panorama view like a spinning dish.
Yep.
Going around. And that also includes a view of all of us. And Jaraxxus is like, Fob is like the most perceptive, should be. I've seen is most perceptive of us and having some trouble. And so he'll like move up for a very like sort of scripted assist move and could put a shoulder on Fob and say, Fob, I know those eyes of yours can see things that none of us can. Use them. And I'm going to use, for the first time, one of my class features, which is called Perfectly Balanced. And it says, when you or a creature within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check, I may use my reaction to have the d20 rolled be treated as if they had rolled a 10 on the d20. And I can do that once per short rest. So instead of being a 3 plus 6 for Fob, now it's a 10 plus 6 for Fob.
Hey, there you go. All right. Good stuff.
And then I'll roll and get a 6.
No, everyone, very important. Pay attention.
Yes.
Okay. So while you do not see anything in particular, Jaraxxus, I would say that both Nulls and Fob do see a few things. First of all, yes, to the west you can actually see, I will take this picture off again. To the west you can definitely see twinkling lights off to the northwest that must be New Camimport, if you had to guess, like off very far in the distance. You can also see to the south, so down in this, basically in this area here, you can also see what seems like a kind of the best way I would describe it is a kind of glittering. There's almost a flashing. It almost looks like, to be at a game for a moment, the Northern Lights might look, sort of a flashing, glittering against the sky. But something is clearly being reflected from below up to the sky above. There's no noise particularly associated with this, but you can definitely see it, and it's far to the south of the cleft. So, a good day's plus travel away, but it's definitely down there to the south. The last thing, which is probably the most troubling, is that there is also, in addition to several little lights, you can see lights here and there, like little spots of light in the cleft, but it's impossible to notice anything for certain. Like there's no obvious, like, oh, that's obviously this. But coming from this tower that you see off to the eastern side of the cleft is this sort of sickly green glow. It's faint, it's not bright, and it's not accompanied with, again, there's lots of noise around you in general, the noise of the night, the sounds of occasional howl in the distance and stuff like that. But there's no like noise associated with this, just a kind of green glow around that broken down tower.
Is the governor up here supervising us?
Not anymore. The governor is down in the room, like just below you, basically, like doing some work on the ledgers and so on. Probably not room to have him up here along with the three of you, actually.
Is the green glow kind of static, or does it seem to be moving?
No, it moves a little bit.
It moves a little bit.
It moves a little bit. It's a little like kind of a like almost a swirling fog. In a way, greenish fog, more than just a steady light.
That looks like evil necromancer bad stuff to me. What do you guys think?
Necromancer?
Yeah, there are these lights almost like from the rainbow shimmering out yonder that way. But there's also this green, like a noxious poison rising up.
I wonder, is that the Draxus will pour through I guess I take diligent notes, and so since Draxus has a recording unit, I'll say his memory is a little better because he can just pace back through his notes and says there was they warned us about a tower or something. I'm trying to find it. Fingerbone Spire.
That doesn't sound like a good name.
No, they said that you bring up necromancy, which that doesn't happen much where I'm from, but from what I've heard, that's like people bringing the dead back to life, yes, but not in a good way. Someone
with arcane evil magic.
Yes. One of the guards of this town, as we were entering in, said that Fingerbone Spire, you should be careful around there because the dead walk there. So,
Whoa, let's not go there.
Creepy green fog makes sense. All right, well, no bandits.
Yes, no bandits.
Unless they are cavorting with the undead. I don't think so.
Unless they are the undead.
That would be very interesting.
I would think if the bandits were showing their lights, they wouldn't be very good bandits. I mean, they are trying to move stealthily. We'd have to get pretty lucky to see them.
Yeah.
I don't think the bandits and the undead are the same thing. I think we have two dangers, not one extra special danger.
Well, according to Kenbat, whatever is out there, it sure is active.
All right. Well, thanks for your eyes. I need to get my visor prescription updated.
Perhaps we can ask the governor about this Fingerbone Spire as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's go down and ask him. Does that sound good?
Head down and we do. We say, hey, governor.
Tell us about this.
Tell us about the Fingerbone
Hey, governor.
Hey, governor.
The governor Fen does kind of confirm basically that this was this home of basically this artificer who had these was very skilled but also had this very shaky relationship with ethics and had a very depraved, unethical set of experiments that he conducted trying to unlock the secrets of returning the dead to life. And actually, this happened even apparently before the cataclysm, but the stories say that one day these noxious green clouds rolled out basically of the tower, and the place was basically abandoned. But after the cataclysm, the clouds of green remained, and the legend says that wherever those green clouds went, dead creatures rose that had been killed in the cataclysm and walked the night again. And basically what Fen sums that all up as is, there's nothing there that's worth getting, stay away from it.
Now, usually people have a motivation for bringing back the dead. Do you know why the artificer did?
No, I don't have any idea, except that there are far too many people on Camria, as you might know, who seemed more interested in making things happen, making things for themselves regardless of the consequences. We've been paying the price for it ever since.
And those rainbow-like lights, do you know what those are? They're very, very close to the green ones.
And he says, well, actually, they're not that close. Those are the south, just so you know.
Yeah,
so,
is it number 3 on the map is the Fingerbone Spire, and 5 is where the lights are?
Correct. That's right. Yeah, so 5, that's exactly right. So 5 is farther south. Having said that, though, when you sort of describe it to him, Fen says, you're probably talking about the Spine Fields. It's a strange place down there. It's these weird crystal formations that shoot up into the sky. Been there ever since the cataclysm. don't really know what they're from or what happens with them, but there's light that gets reflected off them and do all kinds of crazy things. That's another place that you want to not go through if you can. There are some people who say that if you're there in the midst of a windstorm, pieces from the spires themselves will shear off and end up in your flesh. Not very pleasant, I would think. And actually, Draxus, you are reminded a little bit of the Sunriders Landing when you went over a set of these like crystalline structures.
I was just going to bring up. Draxus would say when he goes to speak and then sort of blushes because he's not sure whether or not he should say he's from another planet and came here on a spaceship. And so honestly, he doesn't even know if Nalik and Fob know that whole story. And so he just sort of glazes over and then says, I journeyed up north a bit. There's a crystal forest, trees made of crystal. Do you know anything about those, or are those similar, Governor?
And he sort of kind of nods. He says, I haven't been up there much myself, but I've heard rumors of it. Yeah, probably it's the same thing. I definitely wouldn't want to be stuck in the middle of it, that's for sure. They say sometimes if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, the winds, like I said, pull pieces from them and blow them around. I knew someone once who said that he was going to go up and do some exploring. Came back from there, looked as if something had ripped at his skin for hours. Wouldn't talk about it. Retired. I never saw him again.
And these crystalline structures are pre-cataclysm or caused by the cataclysm?
No, caused by it as far as I know. They popped up as a result of everything that happened. Although I hear there's crystal structures deep below the mountains that have been there for a long time, pre-cataclysm too, but that's just a rumor. I've never seen it myself.
Did something cause them to rise above ground?
And he shrugs. He says, who knows what the cataclysm could or couldn't do?
All right, well, thanks for letting us use your roof, Governor. We're heading south. We will keep a lookout for these bandits, but as you might imagine, did not have any luck figuring out where they are. Probably somewhere in the canyon.
I'd guess that's true. And the truth is they might find you before you find them. But if you can ward them off and you can show them that you're more than just another adventuring party or group of scavengers or prospectors, then you might have a lead on how to get back to where they are. Either way, it's worth the trip across the bridge for me to see if you can help us out.
I did think of one thing. We met Kentab, the grocer, and
he nods.
He mentioned that there was a trade caravan that was scheduled to come here that was sacked by the bandits.
That's and bad business, yeah.
You sent guards to go, figure out what happened. That's what they found. Is that wreck still out there? Or what path was this caravan on? Was it, east of the bridge, west towards New Camenport? Was it in the canyon?
It was coming, I think, probably from south of the Wormwood up to us. They didn't tell us what path they were taking, but we knew something was wrong when they were late. So I sent a couple of guards down. I was worried about doing it. We don't have a lot of guards here as it is. But I sent them down to the west side of the cleft. And only about maybe a day's journey to the south, if that, perhaps a little bit less, came across what was left of their caravan. It had all been stripped clean at that point. If you go down that way, you might find what's left, but it's on the west side and you're going to the east, so I don't know if that works. It's one of the reasons I told you it was a better idea to go to the east.
Right. All right, then. Well, if these bandits have a wider reach than we think, and we run into them on our side, then we can try to handle that, but otherwise it may not come to such.
And he nods. All I'm asking is for you to do your best. Keep your eyes and ears open, and if you do find them, again, any help you can do in eliminating the threat would be appreciated.
Do you have anything that needs to be sent down to Wormwood?
No, I appreciate that, but no, at the moment we don't have any other messages. I was going to send some messages asking about what happened with the caravan, but, well, that's all been kind of made moot at this point.
Draxus will look at the other two, see if they have anything else.
Well, I thank you for your kindness and the aid of your roof.
My pleasure on both counts. Good luck to you tomorrow morning when you go out there.
And does Sven, the troll, does he know us by name? Do we present him something?
Yeah, all you have to do is show him that token that I gave you. You may remember that I mentioned last time that he had given you like this bridge token, yeah. Right? He says, "That's right. Show that to Span, it'll be fine. He's a little slow, but he's a good sort once he gets to know you. Just make sure that he gets to know you first before, he decides something about you."
All right.
He says, "All right, well, look at the time," and kind of, and you are, politely but firmly ushered out of his tower. And I believe what you do next is the long rest that we talked about before. I should mention, by the way, in case people are curious, for example, for Toya, just as a reminder, so a long rest is this period of extended downtime during which you have to sleep or perform light activity for no more than like 2 hours. So basically you have to be resting to do this. And you're in the inn, you have other guards around you, so you don't really need to set a watch for this. So at the end of the long rest, all of you regain lost hit points, although you don't have any of those to deal with. You also, though, regain some spent hit dice. Now, I don't remember if you used any of these hit dice. Remember, you can use hit dice to heal yourselves during short rests, and I don't know if anyone used hit dice or not during short rest.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think we short rested at all.
Yeah, so I don't think so either. So the long rest mechanic, it's very true. So having not have to worry about that then the other thing is as you get a chance to get some of these things back, you will also be able to get some of these spell slots back as well. And so we're basically resting for spell casting and the like. And so
yeah, the two of you who are on who are using D&D Beyond, there should just be a long rest button at the top of your
right
thing, and it'll refresh everything.
And it just basically regains all the expended spell slots that you used. So
cool.
So once that is set, the next morning you are given not the most satisfying meal of all time, but at least it's somewhat nourishing. It's kind of you're given what sort of seems like a kind of sort of dense, almost like soda bread type of thing, with what seems to be some kind of a very sort of, well, I don't want to make this sound too disgusting. Like kind of a viscous butter, like I guess, but I don't want to make it be like it's gross and it's not. It's just kind of like uninspired butter. Might be the way to put it.
Yeah.
Bob will ask hopefully if perhaps they have some fish.
Sadly, no. Well, they do have a couple of smoked fish that they do have. That are, so they do have some of those. They're pretty small though. When they bring them to you, Fob, you're kind of like, really? Like, it's like being given two locks, you know what I mean? Like, okay. But hey, it is a fish.
Fish is fish.
It is fish is fish. But so, it's nourishing enough. And the day has dawned somewhat gray and overcast, but fairly bright despite that. So you have a fairly good view of what awaits you as you head out for the bridge. And just as you're heading over to the bridge, you can see that Elu looks both rested and also restless. That, Elu is like, nothing like bad happened last night, but just like wants to kind of get a move on. And you can tell that Elu wants to make some good progress here. So yeah, it's kind of like that, Arudno. Go ahead.
Well, and noticing that Elu is kind of restless, Nalik reminds her, now remember, we need Span to get to know us first.
And Alu says, yes, I understand. Constant more talk and more talk. But yes, once we get past him, maybe we can actually make some progress here. We have to get down as fast as we can. Who knows how long it's going to be before they send people down after us.
Wait, say that again?
Remember, the reason that you met up with these two in the first place is we barely escaped Camry up there. We made it down here, and, well, it wasn't the most uneventful departure. And she kind of like, her eyes flicker over to Knowles and Fob. But we made it out, but, well, they know that we left, and they may want to find us.
We got the impression, at least locally, that no one, as it said up there, cares about anything down here. What would we have of such value that they would send resources after us?
And Alu sighs and kind of looks at her, the hilt of her sword, and she says, up there may not care about down here, but they do care about people that left up there to come down here. That's what happened to us.
Yeah, you all said the city was a change of the guard, you might say, right?
That's putting it mildly.
You think they'd go after you specifically, Alu? Isn't it your brother was someone of note in the city?
She nods and she says, and I was a member of the guard. I know them, and they know me. I'd like to think that they have more important things to do than worry about us, but I doubt it. It seems that they are determined to track us down, and I don't know how long it will be before they track us down here.
Probably too, knowing how you care about your brother and what happened to him.
And she gets a little bit of a... Make an insight check for me, please, actually,
right.
Draxus.
Okay. 23.
Wow. She, when you say that, you can see she almost winces, as if in a memory of pain, and says, yes, I did care about him, and I haven't forgotten him. Right now they're looking for us. Eventually, and she kind of like draws her sword up slightly and then shoves it back down so it does a stunk. Eventually, I'll go looking for them. And she kind of marches off towards the bridge.
Well, shall we?
Yes, perhaps we should do most of the talking in this case.
Let us go.
So,
Recording is ready.
you make your way towards the bridge. Now, the bridge itself, when you get to it, does look at least a little bit. It is, at first you're not sure what exactly it's made of, but as you get closer, you can see, probably reassuringly, that it is clearly made of stone. It's not a rope bridge. It's made of stone which crosses over the cleft. And it seems to be in pretty good shape. You also hear, as you get closer to the bridge, a kind of an echoey... and throw them off. Someone is like whistling and singing.
So as Knowles is approaching, she's like dancing along with it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's a bop.
The Andy Griffith shows, starring Andy Griffith.
No, it is not. No, it is not that. So yeah.
Well, she sings along too.
And is it loud enough to be heard, would you say, Knowles? I mean, obviously you're companions, but are you like singing it loudly enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Knowles is always coming from the diaphragm, baby.
Okay. So it floats out, echoes over, and as you get closer, you see there is a very large person And by person, I mean a very large, green, metal helmeted, leather tunic wearing, 10 feet tall-ish, maybe 9 feet tall-ish, troll who is facing away from you and is on his bridge and has this little, like, what looks like almost like in his big hand, this sort of silly little tool, which you actually think is a hammer. And as you get closer, you can see as he's doing this. Hold on, give it a thing. Like as he hammers away at this thing. As you get closer and he suddenly hears you harmonizing, the whistling stops and he turns around and you can see that the helmet he has like sort of one eye kind of half closed. It's not clear if that's from an injury or just the way he looks normally. And he's got this, the metal helmet, as I mentioned, and the tunic. And he turns around and he says, "Hi, you're doing some singing there. That's not bad. Not bad at all. You do much of the whistling and singing, do you?"
I do, and that one's a bop. I'm enjoying it.
I made it myself. Took a while to make the sounds right, but I'm pretty happy with it. You should take your harmony there and go do that for other people. There's lots of trolls that like people to harmonize with them. I think. Not that I know any, but I'm a troll and I like harmonies.
I do like harmonizing. Would you like to harmonize us a little bit more? Indulge me a bit.
I'd
use
like
some practice with trolls.
I'd like to, but I've got work to do.
Oh.
I'm in charge of this bridge, so I wish I had a chance to retire, but well, they haven't been able to find a troll to take over for me.
Well, my friends and I heard that you're the best. We believe your name is Span.
That's me.
Your legend precedes you, sir.
Ah, well, a legend. Well, I don't know how much of a legend I am, but I can. And then he turns and this massive gob of saliva goes flying over the bridge, and he watches it all the way down, and then you hear deep below, "Ah!" Every time he looks back at you. I can hit things from quite a distance.
That's impressive.
Thank
But
you,
you shouldn't be so humble. You do keep this place safe.
Oh, well, I don't let people cross that ain't supposed to. Which reminds me, if you're trying to bread me up, you think that's not actually the right term. You think he's trying for something else. If you're trying to bread me up, it won't work. I appreciate compliments, but the only thing that counts with me is if you got the token from the mayor, and if you are not any danger to the people of First Span or crossing this bridge.
Well, that's good to hear, because actually Finn did send us.
Ah, well, Fenn may have sent you, but he better have sent a token with you.
And Nulls looks to Jaraxxus.
Jaraxxus, meanwhile, as the view pans over, Jaraxxus is leaning over the bridge, trying to zoom in and get a view of whatever that troll hawked a loogie at.
You don't. As you do that, Span says, "I'd be careful. A wind whips up a little bit, and you might get thrown down there yourself, and then it's me. You'd be getting hit by my spit."
Oh, and that would be bad, because that would also take the token.
Yeah, well, right. And then you wouldn't cross, and then I'd have to throw you off the bridge, and it wouldn't be pleasant.
I produce the token. Here it is.
And he kind of like looks at it and kind of zooms in on wait a second. And he pulls out from his belt what looks like kind of a jeweler's, like, I don't know what, I forget the term for this, but like a jeweler's monocle, you know what I mean? Like the little telescope, jeweler's device to basically look at things. And so he takes it and he kind of looks at the, and he like grunts as if he's in pain. You think he's maybe just analyzing. He's like, a loop, thank you. Is that, and it's pronounced loop or lupe? It's just loop.
I only know this from reading it, so I cannot tell you.
But you're right. It is a loop for sure. You're right. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of it. So, and he kind of like finally takes it away. He's like, yeah, that looks like the right one. And he puts the loop back in his pocket or back in his belt. And he hands over the token to you. He says, now, don't lose that, because you come back, I might not remember you. I mean, people come over this bridge all the time, and you sort of look around, and like, this does not look like the most, well-traveled bridge you've ever seen, although certainly there are. He says, but I might not remember you by tonight, let alone a couple days from now. You're headed south, I guess?
We are indeed.
All right. Well, make sure you don't get anywhere close to that. And he points a green warty arm over at Fingerbone Spire, because it's been looking and sounding pretty bad. I mean, it always looks and sounds pretty bad, but you don't want to get close to that, especially at night.
Oh yes, we have heard about the artificer and his proclivities for the dead and undying them.
He raises dead people, mostly.
Yes, we've heard.
Yeah, so stay away from that.
Is the artificer still alive?
I don't think so. If he's alive, he's probably, undead now. And that ain't the same thing as alive, Alive is one thing, dead's another thing, and undead, that's like sort of alive. Kind of.
Right.
And he spits again over the other side, and then you hear
Jiraxis races over.
this. You too. So the problem is, it goes down and then it enters this area of darkness far below that you can't really see. But you do hear this, and then sound before the. Sounds like the exact same sound of voice, by the way.
Jiraxis turns to his friend and says, "Maybe the bandit camp is down there." Speaking of Span, the locals have said that there have been some bandits coming in, mostly outside of town, stealing things. Have you ever seen or heard anything of them?
The bandits, the problem is they haven't come here. And it's a good thing, because if they did, they'd get thrown off the bridge. I don't like bandits. First of all, I don't even like the sound of the word. You know what happens when you take the I out of bandits, right? That's right.
You get bent.
You get bad int. You don't think he's quite got the spelling of this down. He says, you don't want to take a chance with those. But no, they hit the caravans south and west. I'm a bridge troll, not a caravan troll. My cousin was one of those. He had a pretty good time of it, but there was no advancement. He couldn't make any headway. No chance to be promoted. I feel bad. He should have studied more in school. Kind of shakes his head.
Well, Span, it's been great talking to you, but we need to head on over the bridge. Could you send us off with some traveling music?
Oh, sure. Just let me get out of the way. And it strikes you that Span is so big that he himself would block the bridge just by his presence. So he kind of walks past you, There's a rather unfortunate scent as he goes by, but he definitely, is walks by and then kind of waves and gives you this crooked grin and says, "There you go, and let's see. I think this." And he stops if he's trying to remember. Like he's trying to remember the last note, so he's doing that. And then as you're starting to cross the bridge and he's doing this, every third verse, or every third basically riff, like then spits between. So you hear this whoop, 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 ah, as he begins to whistle again as you cross over with this very
the rhythm down.
As Knowles is crossing, she's waving like this. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da.
And he says, "That's good stuff. Remember, hold on to that melody, that harmony, and if you see my cousin, make sure you sing him some. You'll know him when you find him. His name is Wagon." And he just kind of blinks. As you step out onto the stone bridge, and Elu, by the way, I don't know if there's a level beyond eye rolling. Like there must be like an eye roll that reaches a new galactic point in some way. Yeah, like I mean, but in any case,
Elu, Knowles says to Elu, "Did we get across the bridge?"
Not yet. It's true, you haven't gotten yet. Because as you cross forward, the wind whips up as you step out onto the stone bridge. And to the south, you can see the cleft stretches well beyond the range of your vision and into darkness beneath you. The bridge itself is about 20 feet wide, and it's made of these foot-wide stone bricks. Given that its age, that you've been told it's in pretty incredible repair, although as you go, you can notice that there are some spots that have like temporary wooden repairs, but for the most part, this thing is not swaying like the tower. Like it's in pretty good condition, actually, all things considered. But you notice some of those repairs may have been done actually by Span himself. And when you look back over, you can see that Span has taken a few steps basically towards the town and is kind of whistling to himself at the moment, just sort of looking away from the bridge. As you near the middle of the bridge, though, you hear a sound which sounds familiar, and at first you're all reminded of Cantab's wings, kind of this metallic buzzing, and I imagine you're just like, oh, Cantab, and then you realize that the droning buzz of these wings is way louder than it was with Cantab, and it seems to be coming from more than one thing. 3 bronze-colored metallic drones emerge from the cleft below, and as they come up, you can see they have a red eye on the front that kind of scans left and right on the bridge. And as it passes over, I'm not going to say Fob, who may be trying to sneak into the shadows of the bridge, although I don't know how much room there is to do that, Fob, but definitely we'll pick up on Jaraxxus and Knowles. And clicks, and the minute it hits you, click, and you hear the bzzz, and suddenly sting, sting, and this looks real familiar to both Fob and Knowles. You think you've seen these before. You think these are very similar to the ones that followed you on the way down from Camria. There are blades extended to either side, and they swoop in to attack. I would like you lovely folks, please, to roll initiative for me. Let's get some combat music rolling here. Let's go with that. Okay.
Amazing.
The eye is red because some jerk's been spitting on them for the last hour.
Hold on, let me roll
right, you hear, like, oh no.
Yes.
Did it
Classic.
actually roll?
Jaraxxus
I hit for it
initiative.
to roll, and I don't think it's done anything.
I don't think it did. I see Fob's roll. I see Dr. Jaraxxus's not so hot roll.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Okay. Yep. Although, you should have a dex bonus, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Do
you?
It's +4.
Right. So you should have a 15, not an 11. So.
Yeah, you have a +4. Hold on.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Actually.
That's very high.
No, that would be
maybe you do.
super high. What's your dex? Your raw dex.
Oh,
score?
no. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. It's +2.
+2. That
yeah.
seems
Oh,
more
but
reasonable.
Do you see kind of in the exact center of your character sheet, where next to the shield, where it says initiative? Toya?
Yes. Okay. Got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
So it's actually +3 because
All right.
bards add half proficiency to it.
There it is. Okay.
All right. So total of 14. Oh, you just rolled again.
I wasn't rolling the right thing.
Okay, that's fine then. Then I shall allow this switch in this case. Give me 1 second while I roll for them, and then I will calculate all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. So Jaraxxus has this false life spell that I think
right.
I mentioned. I basically cast
5
once
temp, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a D4 +4 whenever I do it, but we could just keep it at 5, so like at the minimum if you want, or I could take the average, because I'm just assuming that whenever Jaraxxus wakes up, it lasts basically until they're gone, and that he does it. So do you want me to roll a D4 +4 to see exactly how many I have? Do we want to say the average is 5 or the average is 2 +4, so 6?
Let's say 2 + 4 with 6.
Okay.
Oh no. Yeah, actually. Although I don't know why I had you at 5 temp before.
Because I think the last time the reason why it's 5 is because I did roll manually for it for some reason.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, yeah, well then let's say 6 is the average.
Cool.
That's fine.
All right, thanks.
Okay, sure. All right, so let's see. So Jaraxxus with a big old 2. Let me make sure they make that 6. Okay. Let's see. We have Nulls with a 22. And Fob with a 17. Fob, can you tell me what your raw dex score is? Just like the score by itself.
17.
Okay, got it. Thank you. All right. So, because it's possible one of the people may have tied you. That may be why that happened. Okay. So we're gonna put you down. Okay. Big fan of this battle music, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that is going to go like that, and that's like that. Okay, so that is going to bring us up with Null. So, Nulls, I do not have a battle map on, on this one for you folks, I'm sorry. But you are in the middle of this 20-foot wide stone bridge. You are many, many feet from, like, a couple hundred feet either way from either side of the bridge. So, like, running back to the bridge, it's going to take you a while to get running to one side of the bridge or the other. So just be aware that that's the case. There are 3 of these sort of these bronze-colored drones, and in case you don't remember what they looked like, they were fairly small-ish, I guess I would say, but they have these basically wing blades is what they look like, and if you recall correctly, the ones you dealt with also had gun mounts, and you do think you see sort of blinking on next to the blinking red eye, you think you can see some kind of a gun mounted on the top of each of these drones.
Okay, and how close are the drones to Nulls?
They are probably, I would say right now they're probably about maybe 70, 80 feet away. They're in the air above the chasm, obviously, above the bridge too.
Okay, and how close are the party members to Knowles?
You folks, I would say, are all within probably 20 feet of each other. I think even Fob was only a few feet behind. So I would say that everybody's within 20 feet.
Okay, so they're 70 to 80 feet above us.
Right.
And there's like, it's just open space. There's no way to get to shelter or to kind of crouch behind anything.
No, there is a little bit of a lip to the bridge. Like there's a, I wouldn't even call it a railing. It's maybe about like 2 feet high, sort of at the edge of each thing. But to really use it for cover, Knowles, you'd have to like practically drop flat. So you could go prone and get some benefit from cover, but then you're prone. Like, you know, you'd be sort of cutting off your nose to spite your face, if you see what I mean. So.
Thing is, they're so far away at the moment.
They came in pretty quick too. You get the impression, if you remember, they fly pretty fast. This is their thing.
None of my spells or attacks are in range. That's the problem.
Can't tell you how much they regret that.
You can hold an action and say that you'll hold it until a specific thing triggers it, like something gets within range.
That's true. You could do that. You could say,
okay.
I will cast such a thing if they come within, and then that lasts until your next turn. If they don't come within range, then the action doesn't get held. The action doesn't go off. But
I suppose I could hold on to one of my bardic inspirations or like Thunderclap. The only problem with Thunderclap is if anybody's next to me that's within like 5 feet, they will also be affected by it. So
I mean, you could try to maneuver yourself so where you're not, like, and you could even shout out a warning. You'd be like, "Stay away from me," or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Can I sprint back behind them just in case? So I can use Thunderclap and won't hurt them.
Oh, I mean, you don't even have to sprint. I mean, like, as of right now, it's only a 20-foot wide bridge, so you could and you're not going to create any attacks of opportunity because they're not in melee range right now, the enemies. So you could just, back up, jump behind somebody, come back out. You have a little bit of maneuvering, work there that you could do.
Okay.
So is that what you're doing?
Okay, I could also use Blade Ward if they come within my range, which you extend your hand and trace a sigil of warding in the air until the end of your next turn. You have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you could do that now, and,
Or should I hold on to that?
Well, if it's happening till the end of your next turn, till your next turn, then holding it doesn't help you, right? Because if they come within range, I mean, I guess the only thing is if they don't, then you wouldn't use the spell. So I guess there's that. I think Blade Ward is only you, right? I don't think it helps everybody
Right, it's
else.
just me.
Yeah. So you could hold it if you want, and that way, if they don't come within range, then you don't use the spell. You could do that.
Okay, I will hold. So I don't roll that yet. I just hold on to it.
Gotcha.
Right?
Movement-wise, are you moving anywhere at the moment? Like, are you, moving backwards, forwards?
I'm going to take a couple of steps back.
Okay.
If I need to cast a spell that might hurt other people.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's going to lead us up to Fob, who is next. Fob, what would you like to do?
If one is in range of 80 feet of my short bow, I'm going to shoot it.
Okay. Yes, I would say that probably all three of them are. So you could make a decision about which one. They haven't had a chance to break formation, so to speak. So you could hit 1, 2, or 3. Okay.
The center one.
Okay.
An 11 hit.
I don't think so, but bear with me for a second. No, 11 does not hit, unfortunately.
Okay.
Ducks
And
sort of
then-
zip past it.
This is as a bonus action. I can use steady aim. As a bonus action, you give yourself advantage on your next attack roll on the current turn. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that would be next turn. Never mind.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, as a bonus action, you could do that then for next turn. I mean,
I will do that for next
You could set
turn.
that up, sure, yeah.
Okay.
You can do that. And in terms of where are you moving, Fob? Again, there's not a lot of places to hide here, but...
closer to the railing than I was. So I'm not in the middle, so I'm kind of off to the side.
Okay.
I would also like to be 5 to 10 feet away from Knowles for some reason.
Okay. We will do that. Then that's going to lead us to the person up next is Elu. And Elu sort of draws her sword and she says, I told you it wasn't going to be long before they tried to find us. And she kind of looks right and left on the bridge and she says, interesting that they found us right here. All right, then. Let's see what happens when you come down and deal with us face to face. And she kind of is in this sort of lightly balanced kind of, almost warrior pose ready to go, which is convenient insofar as the next ones to go are the drones. Now, 2 of them, for this point, we'll say drones 1 and 3. 3, moving at blinding speed, drops down and goes over and up. So you basically have a drone now behind you on the other side of the bridge. That one, the minute it comes up on the other side of the bridge, you hear this zzz as this gun is spinning up and then fires. Now the question is, who's it going to fire at? Let's see. Okay, we're going to make Knowles 1. We're going to make Knowles 1, we're going to make Fob 2, Elu 3, and we're going to make Jaraxxus 4. And I will roll this publicly. 1, which I think was...
That's me.
I think I said that was Knowles, right? So this thing fires at you directly.
So I can use my Blade Ward now, correct?
Yes, but it's firing at you though. Does it protect you against piercing also?
Yes, it does.
Okay, well then, yeah. Then this seems like a logical time to do this.
And let me make sure. I believe so. Piercing. Yep, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Okay, so good time to use it. Yes.
Right.
So, yep, resistance. That's good. Dealt by weapon attacks. Well, let's see. Maybe it won't even hit you. Who knows? Let's see. We're looking at a 12. Does that hit your AC?
What was it? What did...
It was a 12. Does it hit your armor class? Do you have a 12 or less?
My armor class is 13.
Okay, so it just, so you're like, as these bullets go flying past you, and they do seem to be bullets, not lasers, that are going past you. Sort of metallic metal slugs of some kind. Okay, that was the one of them. So that was, let's say, drone number 3 is on the other side of the bridge now. Drone number 1 is going to fire from its position in front of you where it started. And I'll do the same thing again. Let's see what it's going to go after. Well, Knowles.
All right.
It's a good thing you have that Blade Ward up.
Yeah.
So it's going to also fire at you. Wow, terrible rolls though. That is a 9, which I don't think is going to hit you. Okay, and then the last one is going to swoop in and is not going to go for Knowles. I think this one is going to go to the big threatening person with the sword. So it's going to go after Elu. Tries to slash with its blade. Oh, there's where the roll was. Okay, and that is going to hit. Now, when it hits, 2 things happen. First of all, there is the slash that you would expect. What you did not expect is that it was also at the same time going to glow blue, and there is the sound of a bzzz, and you hear Ella go, like sort of groan in pain, and there's a flash as if she was not only slashed, but electrically shocked by this blade as it hit her. So that's not great, but so you have one drone that's in melee combat, basically, with Elu, and then you have drone 1 that's shooting, that shot at Knowles, and drone 3 on the other side of the bridge that shot at Knowles. That leads us to Dr. Jaraxxus.
Okay. Jaraxxus is going to focus, adjust the focus of his visor on the one that has just struck Elu, and speaks some of the Dendis language You see the tentacles that make up his beard and his hair kind of Davy Jones a little bit.
Okay.
And he's going to cast Symbiont Mark, which is essentially a hex, on the one that struck Elu as a bonus action.
Okay.
And then I will use the good old Sprite Beam, which has no live feed of followers or hashtags or sim people to feed its sprites, and so it reverts back to the default smiley face, which is you'd have to look very hard to see. It's not too out of universe, but if you look very, very hard at this cool beam of light, you just would see little smiling emoticons.
Oh man.
And I will do that.
Okay.
Let's see, +5 to hit. All right.
Which one? And that one also at Elu, or
that one?
The one that was attacking Elu.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Same one that I've marked.
Yep.
God. Do I want? No, I'm not gonna waste it. Yeah, that's an 8.
And 8 is not going to get the job done.
All right.
Unfortunately. Do you want to move anywhere, Draxus?
I would like to move. Let's see. So there's one that is like melee attacking Elu, right?
Correct. And then there's one in front of you flying, at a distance shooting, and one behind you flying at a distance. Also, thank you, Drew, for the Prime sub. Thank you. Good to see you, Drew.
Nice.
So yeah.
I'll just stay put. Yeah. I'll stay put where I'm at.
Okay, sounds good. That will bring us up to the top of the round. Nulls, that brings us up to you. You've been shot at twice. And so, yeah.
How bad is Elu hurt?
Elu, not horribly hurt.
Okay.
Definitely got hurt a little bit, but not terribly.
Because I have a bonus action healing word, but I will hold on to that if
Yeah.
she's not terribly hurt. So how close are these drones to me now?
So the drone that's fighting Elu is probably only about 10 feet away, because you could step close to her and basically be right there. The other drones are basically hovering in their 70 to 80 feet away, both sides of the bridge thing. So you got one behind you and one in front, about the same distance.
Okay, the only problem is if I get into range with Thunderclap, it will also possibly hurt Elu, so that doesn't.
That is
help.
unfortunate.
So blah, 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 blah. I have daggers, and so it says 20, and then in parentheses it says 60. So I'm not sure what that means.
That's the range. So 60 would be long range. 60 would, you could definitely use that to go after the one that's on Elu. I think the 60 would probably, it would not be enough range to hit the two flying drones, the ones that are, further away on either side of the bridge.
So I will target the one that's closer.
Okay, the one on Elu, presumably, right? Okay,
yeah.
You could do that, sure. So go ahead and make a ranged attack with that dagger. Should say that on the Power of D&D Beyond, I suspect.
Oh God.
Oh wow.
Well, goes flying off and then down into the cavern, and after a few seconds here, down below. I'm joking, that doesn't happen. But it does fall into the chasm. So sadly, a miss.
The dagger's gone.
Right.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep. Do you want to move anywhere, Nulls?
I will take another step back so I can get away from Elu.
Okay. Step back.
In case I need to,
No,
use a
Rude,
spell.
no, that's not the epic dagger. That Fob has that. That wasn't one of the.
That's
He's
just
like, that was a
normal
short-lived 80 gold. You're like, oh man. No, that was that's not the awesome dagger. Okay. So next up is Fob.
All right. I'm going to shoot again.
Okay.
Because
Which
that
one?
seems-
The flying one in front of you, one behind you, or the one on Elu?
The one in front of me.
Okay, flying in the air though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll be number 1.
I have 19,
That is
and I've
definitely a
got advantage on this, so I'm going to roll again just in case.
Lovely.
I get it.
Right.
Yep.
20.
Oh,
Wow. Is that an actual
Well-
natural 20?
No, that's not a natural
okay.
20.
Still, that's
It's a
okay.
dirty 20.
All right.
All right. And so that does 5 points of damage.
Okay.
and your sneak attack as a rogue.
Oh,
I think it automatically roll, at least on roll 20, it automatically added it too.
I think it might have.
Let me see.
So
Oh, so total damage 11?
yeah.
One thing about the sneak attack, I'm trying because
Well, I'm
it's
not hiding, so I wasn't thinking that it was sneak.
right. I don't
The qualification of sneak attack is if you have advantage on the attack roll.
Ah,
So the question is
Which-
if you have advantage on it,
and I did because I had steady aim.
Steady aim.
Then yes, that's right. Then it would be a sneak. Yep. So, well, good news then because your dagger and I assume you're not using the amazing dagger, you're using the standard dagger, right?
No.
Yeah, that thing goes right into the center, and it literally just stunk, and the drone goes zzz, like goes flying off into the chasm. And after a few seconds, you hear, and then down below. So destroys one of them. So good stuff.
Wow. Nice.
I will use my bonus action to steady aim again.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot because you used steady aim during the bonus action last round. Yeah, good stuff. Okay. So, and that was also not the one on Elu. So Elu's turn now, as Elu is not very pleased about this drone that just hit her. But not being pleased does not make up for the critical miss that she has. So, like misses that, which is unfortunate. That leads to the two drones that are left. The one that's on Elu will try to melee attack again and is going to hit again. This is the one that's managed to figure out how to hit things. Let's see. That is going to be a total of... All right, so hits again with this sort of the shock damage. Elu still looks okay. I mean, definitely has been hit a few times, but not in horrible shape yet. Then the one is going to fire off again, and let's see which one it's going to fire at. This time not. This is 4, which is
that's me.
Jaraxxus, I think.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, so... Right. I'm assuming an 8 is not going to get the job done.
No.
So that misses, and you're feeling very good about stuff until you hear the sound of clank, 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 clank. And as you look over, you can see that on clearly metallic metal feet, let's put it that way, metal boots, you can see running towards you at great speed is something which looks quite familiar. You may remember, at least you will remember if you are Dr. Jaraxxus, that there were 2 of these things that were chasing after Darren. And one of these, not the same one, of course, but one of these is charging over the bridge towards you. As it from the far end, from the eastern end, not from first man, but from the other end. As it heads in that end, thank you so much for the 70 months subscription, Dragon Spirit. Thank you so much. Don't forget, everybody, cheers. Go to players today for the bits. We only have a few minutes left here. As it comes charging towards you, it is going to, you hear a kind of zzz, and a laser cannon is going to fire in your general direction.
Wow.
Its range, in case you're curious, is 150 feet, which is why it's
Yep.
possible to do this. So I'm going to have it do the same thing here that we did for the drones. And a 4. Well, Jaraxxus.
Hey. Yeah.
Guess who? All right, so let's see if it actually even hits, though. Oh, well, that's a 23 to hit, I would say.
Yep.
So a 23. And that is going to be 7 points of radiant damage to you, Jaraxxus,
Okay.
as this laser hits into your side. Elu kind of swears and just like, God, like about at this situation, and says, "What's wrong with the guards?" And as if in answer, you can hear from the other side shouts and one loud sound of what seems like a very upset troll. And you can see briefly as you look over that there are guards from first span that are kind of heading towards the bridge. But it's going to take them a few rounds to get there, having heard this commotion. And so, Jaraxxus, you're going to have a chance to act, and you will be the last person to act for this evening. So,
right.
let me know what you want to do. If you have an eliminate all drones spell, this would be a good time to use that.
Interestingly enough, the previous subclass of Cybermancer that I chose, which I did not think fit Dr. Jaraxxus, actually had a charm all constructs in range that I no longer have. Yeah.
Dragon Spear wants to know if you want some inspiration.
If you're offering, but I would save a Dragon Spear, not on an attack. We're not that. I wouldn't say I'm that desperate yet. I would say like if we're on death's door or something, that inspiration would be better served. But I appreciate it. I think I'm just gonna go for. I'm gonna look up real quick about Symbiont.
Inspired Death's Door.
Symbiont Mark.
So you got two drones, one in front of you, and the one on Elu and melee, and you got the Magitech Striker.
Choose ability. Okay, so my mark is on the one drone that's by Elu, and I can't change it until that drone's down. So Jaraxxus is like, okay, come on, and he's just gonna shoot another sprite beam to try to get that that guy down. So here we go. Oh, literally the exact same thing.
Oh, this is what happens when you get hit in the side by a laser from something else.
Gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am tempted to say drones to the right of us, Magitech Strikers to the left. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah.
As Dr. Jaraxxus sort of sadly, says this as his recording is continuing, showing this.
We hear the person under the bridge again.
Exactly. And with the sound of in our ears, we are going to bring tonight's session to a close, and we will continue this combat next time, folks. We will be back with more of this in the future. But I want to be respectful of time, so I'm going to jump back over to the players. And Zach, I'll start with you. Good stuff from Jaraxxus today. I think that the sort of on the top of the tower idea was interesting to kind of get a lay of the land. I was thinking of it as very like Luke with the binoculars and Tatooine type of deal, trying to track down the Tusken Raiders. So that was very interesting. And I thought also there were elements here of as we started to get a little bit of development with you and without Titus there, you just interacting with Fob and with Nulls and just being like the thing about like, do people just always break into places? And they're like, well, what? And that was fun to kind of see how all that sort of plays out. And now you're, I imagine you've all been in a better spot than fighting for your lives on a stone bridge between, over a massive chasm. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Felt great. This crew can role play. We've got it. I mean, leave it to us to draw out shopping into literally half the session.
Yeah,
but hey,
your boy Cantab.
When it also is a testament to your NPCs and your DMing and stuff off the cuff as well too. So no, very enjoyable. Excited to see how everything develops. Excited to see what Titus has been up to as well, and nothing like looking forward to starting another session starting it immediately with combat. That's always
Immediate combat, so to speak.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. The fine people will find me on this channel again, of course, for the next episode of Mysterious Peaks. Also for the Our Vocalists, which is the voice-acted cast video game reading show that we do on this, where we're currently playing through Ace Attorney, which has been a lot of fun. And on my own channel, twitch.tv/Zach Clay, where I play, when I do, things that are similar in the RPG space, like Minecraft roleplay, or been playing a bit of Diablo, not on stream. I have been, though, usually every Thursday, been playing the Divinity Original Sin series with my friend Maddie for the first time. And so you can catch us there. And otherwise, thank you all so much.
Good stuff, Zach. Always a pleasure. Kat, over to you. Obviously, Fob with the typical, again, taking out someone in combat not quite immediately, but pretty close. But I actually loved the sequence of the whole, negotiating with Cantab and then like interacting with Cantab, and now you have this like rusty dagger, and that's why it was so funny to me. You're just kind of like, no, I'm not touching this dagger. I can't wait for this to be the thing that you wait until the end of the campaign where like,
yes,
I pull out the rusty dagger, right? Like, it's the one hit in case of emergency break glass. It's gonna be very funny to see that happen. But it was fun to see the interactions with that, and to see Fob kind of in a position of, I wondered if you were gonna maybe like flip off the bridge, like just hang on or something, like to do something, because there's not a whole lot of room for Fob to maneuver. But again, Fob's deadliness in combat is there, and it'll be interesting to see about how Fob handles Jaraxxus without Titus there. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you?
I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think it's a good sign of the game that the shop can be just as much fun as the combat. It's always enjoyable. Where can people find me next? Well, I'll be at Gen Con, and then I'll be at FanCon in Chicago the week after that. And if anyone's going to be at Dragon Con, I am confirmed at Dragon Con.
Oh, now. Nice. Good stuff. Always a pleasure. And yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Kat, as well at Gen Con. But I will be speaking to you next month before that happens with this. Always a pleasure. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, because Johnny is not with us and will be back with us next month. So that leaves, of course, Toya. And Toya, I loved the, always great role play from everybody. But I loved, as usual, the role play from Nulls with the whistling. I was enjoying the harmonizing with the bridge troll, which is not necessarily what I thought would happen originally, but it makes total sense. And also the idea of getting into the shop with the whole dream, making him think that it was someone he has to go see or something. That was very clever, and I think really fits kind of with the description of who Nulls is. And, now Nulls has to figure out a combat situation that's not super great because of these freaking flying drones that don't make it as easy as one might hope. But I'm sure that you'll all be able to figure it out collectively. How did you feel about today's session, and also good interactions with the players too on the roleplay side? How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Well, the rolls were great until they weren't.
This is the problem. When you see a bunch of 20s, you're like, well, get ready for the reversion of the mean.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny you were talking about the shop, because I like exploring and just talking to like every NPC I possibly can, so that checks out. Yeah, I'm finding this predicament very interesting. I have my thoughts on how it might end, especially since one tiny being and a Canid are separated from the group at the time being, and what might happen next session when we get their adventures separately and somehow they join us again. I'm also interested in what happens with the guards and possibly Span coming to help if we can hold off these drones in time. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways this can all play out, so it'll be really interesting to see. I will also be at Gen Con. I'm going to have several workshops that people can sign up for. If you are interested in writing for video games and want to know what to put in your portfolio, or you have trouble with descriptive writing or just want to be better at descriptive writing, or if you would like your video game portfolio reviewed, you can go to Gen Con's website and sign up for those workshops. Also, I am very, very, very actively looking for narrative consulting and developmental editing work. So if you or an organization know of anybody who needs help, please hit me up at schnoodle.media.
And the highest recommendation from me, Toya is very, very good, very smart people, and you should definitely consult with Toya about anything related to this stuff. She very much knows what she's talking about, so you should do that if you need someone of that type. Players, thank you so much. Great stuff today. I will see the players next month. Chat, can we get some love for our players as they head on out? And I will see you lovely folks back here next month for more of Expedition.
And thanks to everybody who joined us on a Friday night.
Yep. And thanks, Greg.
Bye for now. Okay. So, good stuff. That was a lot of fun, and I was glad that we got to get back into the scene of Expedition. I really enjoy the kind of mix in this campaign, as I've talked about before. I like the kind of the feeling of it, and I really enjoy working with the players as we all sort of like collectively explore this space. And there is kind of this sort of general, they are kind of being pursued in a way, although it's such a big place that it's not going to be like, oh, I just have to like in a linear way run away, but they will have to figure out how to handle dealing with the possibility of attack, whether it is from bandits, whether it is from the people trying to find them from Camrio or wherever it might be. So there's a lot of stuff that they'll have to consider as they go through this, but pursued with quotes. Yes. Well, listen, I mean, they're running into these things again, and you could see Zach's reaction when he recognized like, oh, wait a minute. It's one of those things, because we already saw what happened with those things when they were actually coming in and heading towards it. So that was kind of not his favorite situation, I suspect, with something like this. 1 second, by the way. Okay. Make sure I have that. Oh, thank you, Dragon Spear. Thank you for the cheer. Appreciate that. That is 400 bits to the players for this month. So thank you so much, Dragon Spear. That's going to go to them. And I appreciate that. Sorry, give me just 1 second. There's this weird, like, frame rate thing is weird. Hold on. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe I'm amazed. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So, anyway, so that was great. I am excited to see what happens with them and what they get into next month when we get a chance to play a little bit more. As for me, I will be back here tomorrow with more of the Eberron campaign as that campaign continues. That is now well into season 3 of this epic campaign. They have now risen, I believe, all the way to level 9. So they are on part 9 of 20 of the overall campaign. So they're almost halfway through, which is not bad. It means that they've played, I think, about a year and a half so far, and they've gotten about 10 levels, which I think is pretty freaking good pace, actually. And obviously that story's got a lot more to go as well. So that's going to be happening tomorrow. That'll be starting as well at 7:30. Then I will be off Sunday, Monday, and I'll be back on Tuesday. Now, one quick thing I want to make sure that I confirm is that on Tuesday, there was a little bit of confusion for me about where the different sessions. So let me just double check. So right now I have the Patreon fueled chat chosen game of the month. Right. Okay. This is why I did this. So the Patreon fueled chat chosen game of the month is going to be The Pale Beyond. I have, as chat has determined, and I have gotten that game from GOG.com. However, on Tuesday the 20th, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be playing Jedi Survivor, and here's why. I'm not going to be able to bring my PS5 with me when I go out there. I could, but it's not a good idea. So I'm not bringing my PS5 with me. So I'm not going to be playing Jedi Survivor when I'm out in Seattle. So instead, while I'm out in the Pacific Northwest, I will be playing computer-related stuff, which I can get, obviously, because I have my ARVBox 2.0 with me. So I will be playing the Patreon Field Chat Chosen Game of the Month on Friday the 30th. Same, within the month. I'm still counting it within the month and all that good stuff. But Jedi Survivor will be happening on Tuesday. So Tuesday is Jedi Survivor, followed by Talisman Adventures with Pen and Pixels. And then on Friday the 23rd, we'll be back here 1 week from today for some more Valorword Court of Blades, which I'm excited to continue. On the 24th, Saturday, a week from tomorrow, I will be flying on my way to Seattle, so I will not be streaming. However, there may indeed be some stuff happening that is going to happen on Saturday. The 24th. We will get that confirmed in the next few days, but there may be some additional content for you that does not necessarily involve me. That's going to be Saturday the 24th. Then Tuesday the 27th, we have Pen and Pixels Solasta, possibly, or maybe another game that I'm getting access to that I can't announce yet, that I'm going to be playing on GOG.com. That's going to be earlier. And then we're playing Shire Adventures, which I will definitely be doing at 4 p.m. Eastern over on GOG.com's Twitch channel. So that's the deal with that. I know that's what I've heard. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dunsel, for the Prime sub. 55 months of support. Thank you. And yes, Drew, I've heard a rumor. I can't say for sure, but I've definitely heard a rumor from, certain people, like Shadowed Mage has been making some noises. Triffid may have said some stuff. I may have just heard some things coming from people. So that may be happening on Saturday, but we'll get that confirmed and let you folks know about it. So that's what the schedule is looking like. But tomorrow, Eberron, Oracle of War, is coming at you. So you'll definitely want to stop there. Okay. With all that said, though, I'm going to rise up on out of here. If you like what you saw and heard, I hope you will follow the channel. I hope you will check out the YouTube channel with !ArvTube. Discord is !ArvCord. No, not exactly Dragonspear. Discord is !ArvCord. Twitter is !ArvTweets. Website, arvaneleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop for the merchandise area. !ArvTrayon. Hey, what's up, Prince Justin? No, it's okay. You're not too late. You always arrive precisely when you mean to. Arv Shop, again, Arv Trayon is the Patreon, which again, sitting at 18 patrons, $146 per month. Would love to see that number go up. I am considering the possibility of doing a subathon / Patreon-a-thon-ish thing at some point later this year, which I might do. I've never done one of those in the channel, and I might do that because I think it might be fun, but we'll see. I'll think a little bit more about that. But anyway, that's going to be happening coming up. As I say, the subscriptions and all that are really helpful, so please consider supporting the Patreon, and of course consider subscribing to the channel. That would be most appreciated as well. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to check out as well the YouTube channel with !ArvTube. I think I mentioned that already. Subscribing to the channel is what I want to make sure we got mentioned, so make sure you do that as well. On the publishing side, !Icarus for my graphic novel from Athos Arts, !Library, Tales and Tomes in the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and source book from Alligator Alley Entertainment, the folks who sponsored this campaign. And of course, Greyshade. That will get you to my book, which was released last year, that won an IBPA Silver Medal Award, which was kindly reviewed by a certain person that may have just entered the chat. But that is available to you now. You can also pre-order Renegade, the sequel to that book, which is coming out next month. And you can also pre-order a book, the final book in that series, Heretic, which will come out next year. I should also mention that I may have gotten, I don't know this for sure, but it looks like I may have a possible local event, a local release event near where I live, or not far from where I live, in July. It's not going to be at the Klein. It's not anything like that, but it's possible that may happen. So I'm letting you know. That I'll tell you more about those details when I have them. So that's the deal with that. And of course, you can get the tabletop role-playing game designed by Brandon O'Brien. You can pre-order that. That'll be out from Alligator Alley late this year. And of course, the audiobook from One Trend Sparks. Excuse me, too many gravelly voices today. The audiobook from Trend Sparks, which is currently available and you can get right now if you are able to use that !Greyshade link. So please consider doing all those things, and that would be much appreciated. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, !BLM, Black Lives Matter. Important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. !Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And !Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war. With bravery and courage, we send the message that we will not only help them, but others in the future when we support that process. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Thank you to my wonderful mods, Rudinel, Chaotix, Dragonspear, Drew the Damager, Prince Justin, and Triffany Metz. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of those folks who are all Patreon and sub supporters, and Mrs. Dunsel as well. Thank you to Daniel D-Reb. Thank you to Defective Automaton, to Elizabeth Jagtris. Thank you to Lion Niara. Thank you to Optic Nerve. Thank you to Whoosh WTF. And special thanks tonight to my wonderful players. We will see Johnny Pittman back next month, but thank you to my wonderful players. Thank you to Toya Kristen Finley. Thank you to Cat Rambo. And thank you, of course, to Zach Clay. Great work from all of them. That's it for me, folks. I will see you lovely folks tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. for Eberron, Oracle of War, Lord Bucket, as Season 3 continues, and more Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks next month. Otherwise, that's it for me. I'll catch you folks soon. Everyone, please be... Oh, you're going to stream Planet of Lana? Well, if you go live right now, then I will head over and I will be happy to raid you then. So we will go over and raid Drew as soon as the video's over, if Drew can go get set up now. So that's it for me. Thanks, everyone. Much love. Everyone, please be good to each other. And I'll catch you later on. Bye for now.